We block all those who claim we are censoring content. We are not harvesting your data, creating dossiers on the public, and selling your info. Why would we do such a thing?
Seeing the Easter Island pictures of art next to the Göbekli Tepe art is all I had to see. As a chief legislator, that's all a trier of fact needs to see to know Göbekli Tepe is nowhere near as old as they are claiming.
That Jason showed that the zodiac isn't even old, that the Greeks invented it, blew my mind. I'm a Christian now, and our scriptures tell us that stuff's evil.
Jason was publishing about the Mayan long count not ending in 2012, way back before 2012. This dude is shaking the nest. His discoveries on calendars and ancient moon and day count calendars is putting some of these guys to shame.
Remember, we are actors. We are paid to lie. We are rich because we are good at what we do.
Anyone at this point who can't see that the Jews copied Babylonian tablets to write Genesis is blind. Jason's Dark Scriptures playlist shows this perfectly.
That the New Testament is a collection of forged texts put together centuries after the events they depict.
This guy has called the entire ancient aliens community to debate. Like Tyson, they ain't getting in the ring.
Jason says one who is properly informed is not easily deceived. I would like to see Jimmy Corsetti or Matthew LaCroix debate Jason about this Atlantis dating issue. No one's really interested in Bill Carson's opinion anymore.
His findings on the procession hoax, the change of the year from 360 days to 365, man, this changes everything in archaeoastronomy.
You know, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical background. I'm an actor. And even I know Atlantis was the 13th century BC.
Jason has dropped massive data sets on the Old Testament, not even being old, but from the Greek era.
You think we took you for a ride? Wait till the new Christian Reich takes control. It won't be American, and it sure ain't Christian.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, you know, when Jason showed that the Jewish calendar was completely made up, I mean, you know, damned, how are we going to know what year it is now?
Yeah, the Shar being a day and not a year totally murders a lot of books out there. That's the reason these guys don't want to talk. Jason killed their little pet theories.
It all came true. Jason said I was going to be a part of fake news, just like Billy Carson.
I tried to sniff Jason one time, but Big John stopped me. I think Jason would have been into it, though.
Don't forget, we are actors. We are paid to lie. We are rich because we are good at what we do.
Hey guys, let me get a sound check real quick. I got the boys in the studio. You've been waiting for this. It's been a long time. Before Archaix even did a live show ever. I used to watch these guys. I didn't even know how to operate YouTube back then. All right, let me remove this stuff from my studio real quick. As a matter of fact, Martin Liedtke was the one that introduced me to this. I didn't know anything about StreamYard. Absolutely tech retarded. All good, all good. All right. Hey, let's do a sound check, Martin. Martin, how do you sound?
Wiggly flat thumbs. Thanks for the invite, Jason. Hi, Campbell.
Oh, man, we're getting ready for the juicy. What about you, Campbell?
Yeah, man, all good down here in the outer realm, doing well.
Awesome. Okay, you are way out in the outback too, man.
I am. And I'm in the future. It's Tuesday here. Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday.
That's good.
What's it like tomorrow?
Yeah, man, it's all good. The world hasn't blown up yet.
Fuck yeah. I'd love to hear it, bro.
Man, the world is going to continue. This clown show is never going to end. It's going to loop back over and over and over. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes I just think that, you know what, the world is a circus, and we all just take turns being a clown, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the world's called the shit in a handbag, as we know.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Paul Cook's not going to join us, guys, because he works at 5 a.m. and this had to be scheduled because we're all in different hemispheres. and we got Campbell over here living in a desert way out in the middle of nowhere in the South Pacific. So it was really hard to schedule the time. So I told Paul Cook, we'll do a video later together and maybe invite one of these guys or both of them back here in the next week or so. So,
yeah, man, I'm into it.
Just a scheduling problem. So, Martin Campbell, what you guys been doing, man? It's been a while since I've seen you in San Diego, passing through Arizona, New Mexico, all the West Texas. We had a blast back then, didn't we?
No, man, we had the best time ever. San Diego was one of the best times of my life, without a doubt, man. Just the best.
Oh, it was awesome. Almost a year ago, isn't it now? Jeez. I've been everywhere, man. I've been traveling around Europe and doing all types of things, back to the outback. Yeah.
Damn. I heard you went to Bosnia.
I did, man. I went and I did, I think, 9 countries in 3 months or something. Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia. It was very awesome. Bosnian Pyramid. Really cool.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, look at you. Some more miles than Alan Wicker.
Yeah, man. That's a hell of a trip. So in Bosnia, I have a question for you because I've never traveled outside the United States. There's a lot of talk about the Bosnian pyramids. So I presumably that's why you went, right?
Yeah. It was all basically based around the Bosnian pyramid. Yeah.
Okay, so is it your opinion it's a genuine pyramid, or is it terraforming? Is it a mountain that somebody took a lot of time to shape into a geometrical form? There's a big difference.
Yeah. We actually saw 2 pyramids. There's one up in Serbia called the Ertan Pyramid, and it's definitely a carved mountain, 100%. It's like 2.5 k's high, and it's definitely terraforming. The Bosnian one, not too sure. It's got geopolymer like capstones all over it. So, and it's not as big. So I'm tending to think that that's more constructed. But I mean, it could be constructed over something, a natural hill or something. But
right.
Yeah. But it's all some big part. It's part of a like energy grid. There's like 5 pyramids in the valley, and a few other bits and pieces, and they've all got tunnels, and I suspect they all link up. And I think that's some kind of circuitry. I think that was the circuitry that was running it. But yeah, amazing place. Like the energy there is just like you can feel it as soon as you get up on the bottom of the pyramid. You can feel all the energy there. It's really cool, really good. So went in, did lots of meditating in the tunnels. Yeah.
So they got a lot of people going in and out of there to explore it.
Yeah. It's tons of people there. Especially we were there sort of just before the peak season, but yeah, there's heaps of people go there for healing. They get in the tunnels. It's really because it's full of orgone and negative ions and electromagnetic energy, and it's good for healing. And yeah, people literally take trips there to go and meditate in the tunnels and get healed. So it's really cool. Yeah. Dr. Sam Osmanovic, he's one who first called it a pyramid. He's done a really good job. He's built big parks around it, and it's all family friendly, good sort of community based stuff. So definitely worth going if you're looking for somewhere interesting to travel.
Do they give you any history? I mean, I understand Bosnia, Serbia, I understand the ancient part of Central European, I guess the Asian subcontinent, but what did they say? What does the archaeology say? Is there anybody theorizing? Is this 3rd millennium, 4th millennium, or is this sometimes so far in the distant past it belongs into a whole nother human epic for which we have no historical records?
They're saying that the tunnels have they're all made of geopolymer, but they were filled in by hand, like with river sand. And so that's what they're doing at the moment, is excavating all the sand out. And they, as far as I can tell, that was done about 5,000 years ago. And when you go in, there's an inscription that they found in there that basically says, I can't remember exactly, but it's something like you know, the war is coming or they're coming, so we're sealing up the tunnels, and when it's time that they'll be emptied and revealed again. So, but I think the pyramid itself would be obviously older than that. That's when they filled it in. So, yeah, probably, you know, between 5,000 and 10,000 years, something like that. So it's old.
Wow, that's something else.
Yeah.
That's
So
something
that.
else.
So, yeah, really interesting stuff. They've got archaeologists working there and everything, and yeah, it's pretty interesting place. First time I went in to meditate, I went in at like just before 11 in the morning and sat down and meditated, and you know, opened my eyes and thought I'd been meditating for like half an hour or something, 40 minutes, and when I woke up, the people I went in with were gone, and so I sort of wandered out and found them outside and had a chat, and then we checked the time, and it was 6 p.m. I'd like literally been in there for 7 hours, and I thought it was like 30, 40 minutes, so that was interesting.
Wow.
Time dilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the megalithomania. I love the whole study itself, but for a guy who spent a lot of time in prison, it's kind of surprising to admit that I'm a little claustrophobic. Yeah, I'm not going down those tunnels. Yeah, I'm going to let other people take pictures, and I'm going to look at the pictures. I'm not going there. Yeah, it's just like the Loch Ness Monster. I'm not the dumbass on getting in that boat. I'm not going out there in that lake. Yeah, I don't care if it's been 300 years since anybody's seen that monster. I got some terrible luck. You know what I mean? I'll be out there in the middle of the lake the one day that monster wants to come up. Yeah. It's not happening. Yeah. No. It's not happening.
Yeah. It's a bit like that. When you get to the end, like it's just pitch black and you just sit in the dark and meditate. So yeah, you open your eyes and it's like, oh. A few times I was like, God, I hope I find the way out.
Oh no, I don't think I'd like that.
Yeah, no, it was good though. It's just a really good feeling though. The energy is really cool, so I think that helps. You sort of get in there and it's you know, it doesn't feel constricted. It's got natural airflow, like all the tunnels.
All of that, you know, with the, you know, everything in the world is just blocked, you know, by the rock and the stone. So there's no signals coming in, and you're just getting cleared.
Well, you said something that drew my attention. You just said that the official narrative was that the builders of those tunnels later filled them with sand, and now archaeologists today are removing that sand, right? Okay. Yeah. Now check this out. I'm not denying they told you that. What I want to draw to your attention is that there has been many different archaeological sites around the world that were buried so mysteriously that the official narrative today is that the builders themselves must have buried their own temples, infrastructure, and then left for whatever reason. They say this about the Hijacked sites in Turkey. They say this about the Tepe sites. This is the official word of Göbekli Tepe that they built. But now that they have discovered Göbekli Tepe is like 25 square miles and the infrastructure just continues going in different directions, they have to change that narrative. There isn't enough people in the world to have buried all this stuff, but they're still sticking to their guns. Now, I'm finding out from you that the same stories being told about the Bosnian tunnels and all that, and David Hatcher Childress revealed the same thing about the South American tunnels. They were filled with silt and sand, and yet the Mesoamerican and South American archaeologists didn't come up with any theory that the builders filled that up, because I'm not on board with it. I'm absolutely on board with the Ogygian deluge. And the Ogygian deluge is probably where all that mud, liquefaction, and all that silt came from. Because if I employ Occam's razor is going to have me remove everything that just is facially ridiculous. What I'm left with is a single event, a cataclysm, could have buried all these sites that are so-called mysterious. But it's just something that jumped out when you said that.
They could have. And just as a side note, do you know who owns Göbekli Tepe? The World Economic Forum owned Göbekli Tepe. So that's weird. One thing they do have in the tunnels is, as they go through, and they find side tunnels, they're all they've got like dry stone walls built up. So that's how they find new tunnels. You go in and you find these dry stone walls, and you take that down, and that leads to another tunnel. So that's one point. But yeah, I mean, especially with open sites, I mean, yeah, exactly. The deluge could clearly just cover them all up, but they don't. But that's history that they don't want to tell, right?
Yeah, it's very. That's a weird tell. Also, the inscription you mentioned, we have to be very careful about dating. I'm not talking about you. This is what you were told while you were there. But we have to be very careful about dating an archaeological site by the inscriptions that are found upon it. Let me give you 2 examples. A lot of people have contacted me about the inscriptions that were seen by drones on the very top of the Great Pyramid, because there's about 80-something inscriptions at the top on that platform. But what most people don't realize is there's inscriptions that say 1871. There's a big one up there by a man named Davidson that says 1764, which was a phoenix year. But there's almost 80 or 90 inscriptions in they're Hebrew. Some of them are Latin. Some of them are English. Some of them are German, French, Portuguese. There's inscriptions in all different languages up there, but those don't date the Great Pyramid. Those are all the people who had the free time to climb those 203 steps, get all the way up there and do that. So those have nothing to do with the Pyramid.
Ancient graffiti, right?
Graffiti. Yeah, that's all it is, Mark. It's graffiti. And the same thing we find in Derinkuyu, the very first discovered underground city in Turkey, Derinkuyu, which led to the discovery of 58 underground facilities, other ones. Derinkuyu was originally believed to be Hittite, which would have been 19th, 18th, 17th to the 14th century BC, because the top 3 levels of 19 layers of infrastructure, the top 3 levels had Hittite graffiti and Hittite, kids and young youth and stuff that were doing cuneiform graffiti. So they had labeled it Hittite, and then they found the sub levels. And the more they went through the sub-levels, they realized this is very sophisticated. Something tunneled all this out. They had locks. They had reservoirs. They had whole airlock systems, pressurized. They could use stone and airflow and water flow to pressurize whole areas and waterproof them. It's amazing what they had.
They said it was never used, though, didn't they? Did they say there was no evidence of any human occupation? Same as they did with Göbekli Tepe?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like, are you talking about I'm not talking about Göbekli Tepe.
They said that it was never used. The whole.
I don't know, because the Frisian legends that are attached to that area of the world claim that before the flood, a king named Archaix knew of the coming disaster, and he hatched a plan, and he and his people built underground cities, and then went and hidden those cities when the flood came, and they survived. And when they came back up, they became the ancestors of the Frisians. But it's just a legend, but it's attached to those underground cities. So I don't know if people, it seems like 58, 59 underground cities is a whole lot of work for them to never have been used.
Yeah. So, did you get to go there, Campbell?
Yeah. I know I didn't go there, but want to get there. There was a few issues. But I won't talk about it on this stream. But I mean, that's the whole thing with dating, right? It's like Göbekli Tepe. Like, you can't date stone, right? And they date it by like what they say are like fire pits they found around it or some other thing, and then they date the whole site from that. It's just ridiculous.
How can you say it's the oldest thing that, bits of antiquity? But they say like 10,000 years ago, aren't they?
10, 11,000. Yeah.
And just after apparently the last.
Well, I've got a riddle. I got a riddle for you. I mean, you guys have never discussed this with me, but I've mentioned it to my community several times. We have this Younger Dryas Ice Age dating for all kinds of anomalies around the world. Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson, they love throwing out that Ice Age Younger Dryas. Billy Carson does too. Jimmy Corsetti, Matthew LaCroix, they all do this. Paul Wallace, they're all throwing out this massive dating. And the problem I have with it is these same guys are also doing videos and presentations about the 15th and 16th century Turkish maps that actually show Antarctica, the mountains, the river valleys. Yeah, the Piri Reis is just one of them. I found 4 more now. And Graham Hancock's found one. It's amazing from the 1300s. And how can you tell your community that we had navigators in possession of maps that show ice-free at Antarctica, and then yet with the same mouth try to tell us that Antarctica has been covered in ice since the Lunar dryas period? How do you reconcile that data? Are you really trying to convince the public that these maps are copies of maps, copies of maps, copies of maps, copies of maps, going all the way back to before we have even any records of copies of writing? You understand?
Yeah, Graham Hancock says he says with like the Pierre Reis, Admiral Pierre Reis maps, for example, he say they come from an older time. You know,
right. But how far are you going to push it back when you say?
Well, this is it. And the cartography we've been following for years online, and it switches and fucking changes constantly. You get some parts late 1600s. There's no Great Lakes. There's Island California. All these anomalies with the maps, and and then you get to a few years later, and it's the world you recognise. It's just no. I think it's, with the Pierre Reis, for example, with all of these monsters and stuff that they show you in Antarctica. Yeah. I think it's purely propaganda, misdirection, like there be dragons here, keep away,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Some of those maps do have some, unknown areas. They like to put giants and dragons, but with Magellan, what about Magellan? We have the Book of Magellan. He came across the Patagonian giants, but South America.
But the Welsh are in Patagonia. I wonder if they was Welsh giants. Just say.
Listen, hey, Native American traditions, really interesting about the white-skinned, blue-eyed people that lived in areas of North America way before the Indians. And when the Native Americans showed up on the scene, they said the white brothers and them were living at peace until they made war against them. And what's interesting is like the Mandan Indians, a lot of them have blue eyes. The Mandan Indians, almost 30% of their vocabulary is Welsh.
Yeah, man. Totally know that. Totally believe that.
I got a book of my library about that.
Yeah, man.
Same with the Australian Aborigines, the natives down here. A lot of them are born with blue eyes and blonde hair. A lot of the kids are blonde until they're sort of 10 or so. And, our narrative says that should not be in their gene pool. So, yeah.
I get it. Damn it. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. When we talk about them blue-eyed devils, we get in trouble, man. I've been getting in trouble on YouTube.
I thought that was the narrative, right? I thought all us whiteys were the devil, right? Isn't that what they want us to tell?
Let some people tell it. Yeah. So my take is different. You guys are vaguely familiar, but I'm already convinced because I've seen the hyperbaric chamber evidence from 4 published books by scientists I've revealed on my channel. The experiments show what life would be like in a vapor canopy world, and so I'm absolutely convinced that the increased pressure, ambient radiation, and the ultraviolet canopy itself are the 3 main ingredients that create giantism, promote massive genetic changes in the human genome, allowing humans to hold their breath for fantastic periods of time, able to see in the dark, able to swim underwater to great depths because air pressure has changed, which also changes the pressure underwater. It also changes the ability of the human body to deal with that pressure and to outgas when it needs to be able to go even deeper. So every bit of this is explainable to me. Where I'm at right now in my research, which I haven't really released my next slew of videos on, is that I've already documented that there was a vapor canopy and it collapsed, and it's what we know of as the Great Flood. I've also documented that the Ogaigian deluge started a 25-year vapor canopy, but it died out fast. But it created another race of giants for a short period of time, and it's very well documented. But where I'm at now is one thing I want to start a project on. I'd like you guys to join me. But I want to ask my lunch break to join us as well, because he has one data set. I don't know about his other videos. I don't know anything about him. But he does have one video that provides enough data points where we have a really interesting data set that perfectly matches the Archaix chronology. And that is, something happened in the 5th century AD. You guys are familiar with the Byzantine darkness, the 25-year darkness, the Justinian plagues, the writings, the secret history of Procopius, all that. Well, this period of time is when the Anno Domini calendar was created. But I'm convinced that these 14th century Turkish maps are copies of maps from a few centuries earlier in a period that we know almost nothing about. It's literally called the Dark Ages. But I'm really starting to believe, and I'm really starting to see evidence that a lot of the old architecture that was founded everywhere in Europe and founded everywhere in America, and new governments moved in to cover up that this was already occupied before, and they built over it, and sometimes they refurbished it, and sometimes they just collapsed it and rebuilt over these structures and cities. I'm really starting to see a lot more evidence now that there was a vapor canopy very recently, probably in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th centuries, and then it collapsed. Once it collapsed, that's when European history really started taking off. But until then, it was just static. Nothing, no development, no growth, nothing. Right. This is where I'm at right now. I'm about to start doing videos on this vein. It's the only records. This is what's strange. The only actual verifiable records, and when I say verifiable, I'm talking about when in my Chronicon I can show historical books that have dates and chronographical material that match what archaeologists say about the same areas. I don't have anything during that period for Europe, Asia, anything, but I have a wealth of information for what happened to the Mayan people and the Zapotec people during that period in the Americas. I have Phoenix phenomenon data that is massive. It's awesome. And the archaeology comports that there was huge destructions in the ancient Americas during this period of time, wiping the Maya out, whole cities at a time. But I don't have anything for good old white people. There's like a 500-year period for which we have traditions and all that, but we don't have any evidence of it. That we don't have any evidence in archaeology that these things are true. We just have many books that give us testimonies.
Oh, it's almost as if somebody just showed up, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm convinced that there was something bigger. A vapor canopy world. A vapor canopy world is going to make sense of the maps. It's going to make sense. It's going to make sense of the maps, because during that vapor canopy, we could have had explorers go to Antarctica and they would have been able to go through the whole thing. The ice would not have been there. The ice caps form when vapor canopies crystallize and collapse. It only takes days. Even today, if you guys aren't aware of this, this is why there are scores of ice age theories, and none of them have prevailed so far, because different specialists in interdisciplinary research are always contending over different aspects of the theory, because they can easily disprove why one scenario can't be true, why this scenario that's proposed isn't true. All these different interdisciplinary approaches have smashed every ice age theory. And the reason is there's no humidity in Antarctica. There's no humidity in the Arctic either. At the antipodes, whether we're dealing with a flat Earth, a flat plane, or a globe, no matter what, they are still the extremities. If it's in the center or if it's at the antipodes, it doesn't matter. It's still, these two areas still have two common denominators. One is they have 2 miles high of ice pack. And yet, how does it even form when there's no humidity? This is a major scientific problem that's kept away from uniformitarian discussions. Most students in college are never told this. They're never told that this major argument in the scientific community about how the hell did the ice even get there? Well, vapor canopy collapsing answers it just like that. Because when a vapor canopy collapses, in the ancient traditions, they say the sky fractures like glass. Pieces of it, like icebergs, fall down. There's flooding, earthquakes, liquefaction, all kinds of things. But at the extremities, or in the center and on the perimeter, either way you look at it, whatever model, it doesn't matter. Instantly, it all freezes. And the archaeology actually shows this. How do we know? Because in the Arctic, we have Baffin Island. What's under the ice pack in Baffin Island? A tropical forest with apple trees, with giant apples frozen in stasis. What's across the entire northern tundra of Alaska? Canada, from the Yukon stretching all the way underneath the ocean to the UK, underneath the UK, massive coal seams that attach. Remember, we did a video about that, Martin, about those coal seams.
Yeah, the coal seam goes from Southwest to Philadelphia.
All the way into Europe, and then from Europe all the way across Siberia. What do we have? We have perfectly frozen, solid megafauna: woolly rhinoceros, woolly badgers, giant armadillos, mammoths, mastodons. All these creatures were frozen solid when the vapor canopy collapsed. The 2-mile ice pack is instant; it's there. But when a vapor canopy is created, it's created by volcanoes, and it takes several, mostly submarine volcanoes, to be going off at the same time. And when this canopy starts getting created, it draws the moisture right out of the antipodes, right out of the Arctic and the Antarctic, leaving all that area to be discovered. There's no way these maps can exist, like the Piri-Reis maps, if somebody didn't go map these areas. The U.S. Geological Survey has already confirmed that those maps are legitimate, that those mountains and those valleys and those rivers and tributaries are actually in those places. And how could they know? There's 2 miles of ice today. So I'm seeing that our modern calendar, the AD calendar, was specifically created, as I've documented, by the Roman Catholic Church to hide something. Now, they said they were trying to hide the 552-year cycle. I've got that in writing. I took pictures of that old book and I posted it on my channel. I didn't want people to accuse me of lying. The Roman Catholic Church published that they were trying to hide the 552-year calendar, which we know of as the Phoenix cycle. And yet, I think they were trying to hide something more, because it's called the Justinian darkness. And we know from 522, when 2 sky dragons appeared in the sky, appearing to fight each other, from 522 to 547, we have nothing but fallout all over the world. Even something falling from the sky and destroying most of ancient Britain. We have a lot of things in that period of time. I don't mean to monopolize the conversation. I just want to let you guys know this is where I'm going. This is the direction I'm going right now. I'm trying to fill in this gap.
Yeah,
I bet it was like Lord of the Rings back
Bible.
then.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, it reminds me of that verse from the Bible, right, about the giants. Like they're like the men of old, the men of renown. So, you know, if there was a short vapor canopy that produced giants, they would have been the same as from the previous, you know, old vapor canopy.
Yeah, man, I agree.
Yeah, I think there was a vapor canopy. I've been thinking about it quite a lot. I was wondering if after that period, they introduced like the Gothic cathedrals with them, you know, giant windows. I was wondering whether they were just trying to restructure the water in the environment using sound qualities after the vapor canopy period.
Hey, okay, Martin, listen. Damn. My mind moves faster than my mouth is able to keep up with. So we're talking about an overlap here. You just mentioned the cathedrals, and I've seen hundreds of these pictures. And I know I've seen videos that Campbell put out that show the antennas and all that stuff on these cathedrals, and even grounds, like you've shown, Martin, the ground that goes into the ground.
Yeah, man.
It's from the antennas. Okay. What if the reason why no one in the Tartarian movement right now has been able to figure out what the hell this Antiquitech was really about and how to replicate it? Because anything that's true should be you should be able to replicate it.
Oh yeah,
just like the conditions in the vapor canopy. But what if the reason why it's not being replicated is because we're not in a vapor canopy right now? What if cathedral Gothic architecture is actually vapor canopy architecture, and it no longer serves that function because we no longer have that type of environment?
Yeah, I thought exactly that, Jason. Yeah. That is what I was thinking a week or two ago. It's just there's a fluidity to them, you know, their music in motion, yeah, and they definitely would, you know, alter the ether and the sound they give off with the organ devices, etc.
Well, the vapor canopy did a lot of things. It would have changed sound. It would have changed the high pressure system. Would have changed.
And technology. You know, the technologies of today wouldn't have worked in a vapor canopy.
Well, let me tell you also, your diet would have been different. You would have metabolized more rapidly, differently. I'm going to tell you now, you would have gone weeks. In vapor canopy ecology, the human physiology, the way it is now, and the way we defecate and urinate and all that, wouldn't be happening under the vapor canopy. The nutrients under ultraviolet light. Well, under ultraviolet light, it's a different type of vegetable and fruit. It's so pure. It takes a lot less to make the human biology operate at prime for a long period of time. So what I'm telling you is under a vapor canopy, our present bodies, we wouldn't even shit for weeks. We wouldn't need to. We would be metabolizing almost instantly as soon as we ate. Our metabolic rate would be off the chart. So
yeah, well, we've been looking into. I've looked into like that. There's no toilets in Tartaria.
Yeah,
you can't find any plumbing for toilets and things in the buildings, but outside they've got pressurized plumbing systems for fountains.
Fountains, it's just insanity. Versailles is a brilliant example.
So if this line of thinking is accurate, then it makes a lot of sense why our controllers don't give a damn about many modern buildings and they destroy them, they mow them over and all that. But the most ancient cathedrals and Gothic star forts and all that, they protect them. They make them national heritage sites. Sometimes they put garrisons there. What if they're trying to preserve those for the return of a vapor canopy?
Already in place, ready. And I reckon there's stuff like they show you in, I can't remember what film it was, but it was all old, I think it was Total Recall. But there was it was Total Recall. There was all old technology buried under the place, just waiting for this environment. Did you ever see that film?
Total Recall's by Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I remember that movie. I saw that as a kid, so that was a long time ago. Yeah, I agree. So this is where I'm at, guys. You guys know, man, I don't like to cross-pollinate my material with others until I see a viable reason. And I've always kept the whole Tartaria deal kind of far away. I've never dismissed it. I've always been open to hear more about it, but it's never fit into any of the research I'm doing. And I'm starting to realize why is because of massive amount of censorship. Because the Archaix data is actual verifiable data. I can show you from old books, old chronologies. I can actually pull this and I can show it out. But if we had a vapor canopy 12 centuries ago, during that vapor canopy, the type of writing that would have survived would not have been in books. Books would have not have made it in a vapor canopy. The high humidity of that type of environment, books would have had to have been safely preserved somewhere else. The writing medium would have had to have been something else, but books wouldn't have been very popular either, because under that type of world, if we go by the traditions, then we're talking about humans that are able to have that instant recall that they need. They're able to use a lot more of their processing power. Under that high pressure system, we don't know what it would do to the actual brain case. Does our brain actually work more optimized under higher pressures? I mean, there has been experiments where people deep underwater do have this hyper lucidity that allows them to just absolutely go in peace and concentrate and think about deep concepts. But if they go a little bit deeper, then they get the bends.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. These are all theories, things I've been wrestling with the past couple of months. So
yeah, well, more like moisture in the air would also probably aid Antiquitech, right? Like aid the sort of transfer of energy from the ether down into antennas and things, because the energy would travel a lot easier and further with moisture. Yeah.
Also,
what do you think about?
Yeah. Well, what if we were more cyclic because the ether was more fluidic, more ether-like, thick.
Yeah. I mean, we've got all these stories for a reason, right? It's not like someone just made up, telekinesis, and it just stuck for a couple of thousand years. What do you think about the elongated skulls, Jason? Are they something to do with the vapor canopy, do you think?
Well, I've got books on that right now. One of them's by David Hatcher Childress, and the other one's by somebody else. I can't remember who published it.
Brienne Foster, maybe?
I know that the trepanning and the use of the flat board on the forehead in South America and in the Chinese Taklamakan desert among the Caucasian red-headed mummies that have been found there, I know that was a thing, and that it has nothing to do with aliens or it's just regular humans. However, it was done because they wanted their youth to look that way for a certain purpose. Yeah. And now that we found actual craniums and skulls that have the natural cranium divisions, but they're elongated. These weren't done abnormally. These weren't manufactured, while the person was an infant. These people were born that way. Maybe even Pharaoh Akhenaten and Nefertiti, maybe they had those elongated skulls. You never see them unless they're wearing those odd hats.
I got an elongated skull.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
Yeah,
so proper elongated. I literally had the piss taken out of me because of it. My elongated skull.
Wow. Hey Campbell, I got a picture of this guy. He's wearing his come get me's little boxers and wearing a little floaty with a rubber duck on the front. I took a picture
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
I posted it on Facebook before they kicked me off.
Yeah,
I got kicked off Facebook too.
I got kicked off Facebook, and somebody looked me up. Said, man, Facebook has you cited as a dangerous individual. I said, wow, I'll wear that with a badge of honor. So,
gee, dangerous individual.
There's been a lot of trouble and everything.
Yeah,
it's getting crazy out there, man. Have you seen they're jailing people in England now for sharing posts?
Right, well, about that.
Oh, I'm about to do a video on it. I got a whole bunch of videos.
Well, yes, if you're going to do a video with Barry, check this out, right? Suspicious and weird. 3 years ago, right? Yeah, massive influx of Ukrainians because of the Ukrainian war. Yeah. They were literally everywhere. Nobody says a fucking dicky birds. Everybody sends billions of dollars to Ukraine, right? They're fucking gone. And not only that, they're gone. They're gone. They're not even about, brother. I think they're just some sort of site where they're just bringing these people in, like crisis actor type affairs, where they're bringing all these people in. Now, one thing you can say about all these people, these apparent armed gangs that are being brought in illegally, is none of them, full stop, period, have ever got women with them or their families. These are young, well turned out, well clothed, better than the people of Britain people that have been paid in a lot of, you see some interviews, so some have been paid a lot of money. Yeah. So there's some sort of, psyop going on where they're just bringing these people in, and then it just causes all this division. These are all problems, across the water. We haven't been doing that here in Wales. So that's groovy. Nah.
It is crazy. What's going on? It's crazy. Look, I don't want you to get in any trouble, brother. So don't even talk about anything right now.
Yeah,
we gotta see how serious they are about jailing y'all. I know this. Danny of Removing the Shackles, who's been on my channel, she founded the Unfuckers group. She's taken a bunch of her videos down because she's got evidence that locking people up in the UK for posting these things on social media isn't just fear porn. It's not just fear porn.
Listen, no, they have been doing it in Scotland, and people have been having knocks at doors, and they've been doing it in Ireland more recently as well. And there's definitely been doing, people who are, just keep on promoting, what they
were so crazy, man. It's so crazy. 3 years ago, I did a predictions video in 2021. I did a predictions video of how I see the next 5 years. I literally said in that video that in the next 5 years, guys, don't be surprised if you go to prison for a meme. Couldn't believe that, man. And then all of a sudden, during the Olympics, they started kickdooring folks and locking them up. I don't want to talk about that on this video. We do that some other time.
The Olympics, oh my God.
So, hey, right here, Alchemy 2.0. I just saw your comment. I posted it here because you're absolutely correct. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. He asked me about the elongated skulls, and I should have went into more depth about it. But the research that I've conducted on the elongated skulls is that they live for very long periods of time. We're talking about humans that live for like 150 to 160 years. Those are vapor canopy humans, and that's the reason why they have those long skulls. And in that research,
ginger hair too.
In that research, those same skeletons that have the elongated skulls, listen, the same skeletons also have a very unique feature that's not found in normal anatomically correct humans. And it's called epithelial cartilage buildup. That epithelial cartilage buildup is a film that builds on the bone, and it protects all the joints. I think it's called epithelial. Epithelial cartilage is very rare, and it only appears in these older people. But epithelial cartilage literally makes the bones look Neanderthalish. It makes them look huge, and it's because they've lived way longer than we can today. Wow. And to me, that's vapor canopy. This is a vapor canopy type people because during the
they
vapor
tend to be
canopy
taller as well, don't they?
See, the collapse of the vapor canopy caused a lot of things that were not existent prior to one of them is the tar pits. Another one in the UK are the peat bogs, the coal seams, all these things. And the common denominator between skeletons that have been found in all these sites is absolutely perfect teeth, epithelial cartilage buildup, and Cro-Magnon type skulls, which have on average over 300 cc's larger than the average adult male human brain case today. So every bit of this is evidence to me of a vapor canopy ecology, an environment where humans grew bigger, they grew faster, and they lived a lot longer than we do today.
Would they been smarter?
Well, I'm gonna answer it this way. I'm gonna answer it this way. Okay, you're asking me if they'd have been smarter. I'm gonna answer it this way. We have 0 pre-flood antediluvian books, and yet, though they were so knowledgeable, they built structures we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? They show us these big people with, bigger brain capacities and say, oh, no, they're just cavemen who walked around and clubbed women over the head and dragged them around, all these stupid stories. Yeah, the Flintstones, man. I mean, I think cavemen are just humans after cataclysms, right?
Of course,
They
Mad
just
Max
get
time, isn't it? Yeah, I think that was happening for a while, Mad Max time. It would have been a while before the world got its shit back together after a cataclysm of that scale. It's not like a generation to heal, is it?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
All in caves, so they were all, obviously living in caves, troglodytes and things. So, yeah, the story definitely doesn't add up.
Well, to me, the end lies in the beginning. And you see Cro-Magnon, you see Magdalenian Cro-Magnon. Come on, man. It's crazy. Okay, we have a race of humans that are anatomical anomalies. And what I mean is anybody who's done some has looked at the anthropological research on Cro-Magnon, you will find out that the average Cro-Magnon was 6 foot to 6'5", and yet the Cro-Magnon female was petite at 5 foot to 5'2". Okay, this isn't normal. This is only normal when a race has been sedentary for a very long period of time. The Cro-Magnon male may have been very tall and his head long, showing great intelligence, but his arms were disproportionately short, which means he was not a fighter. He was not a warrior. He had been using his head for so long, for such a long period of time, in whatever environment he was, that he was no longer of that warrior type DNA cast. Now his females had no need to grow larger. There was no need for them. So they stayed petite and beautiful, very small, and yet they were sexually compatible. The short arms on the Cro-Magnon are anthropological proof that the sedentary lifestyle was one of technological provenance. Because at the same time Cro-Magnon lived, there was a very violent cannibal race here called Neanderthal, who were built totally different. Their rib cage flared out. Their bones were much denser. They may have been shorter, but they were twice as powerful. Their arms and fingers were long. They could break a Cro-Magnon, but why didn't they? I'm going to tell you why. The megafauna of the day have all been found with these laser precision holes in them. Giant armadillos, giant bisons. I've got books full of pictures,
I've seen that.
Archaeological pictures. They don't know what type of projectile this was, but Cro-Magnon used to shoot something, and everybody else got the hell out of the way.
Right.
This is what they did. Cro-Magnon did this. Cro-Magnon had button-down shirts. They had button-down jeans just like we do today, Levi's. Although it wasn't denim, but it had a high thread count, meaning their females were very good at textiles. So they had bracelets, they had necklaces. They looked just like we do today. A Cro-Magnon 30-year-old with a 25-year-old female dressed in overalls in a shirt, cotton shirt, and she in a dress with long hair in the middle of a field in Kansas in 1830 would have been indistinguishable from any of the other Americans, except he would be tall. So this is what the establishment covers up about Cro-Magnon. With Cro-Magnon, we have this vast gulf of no history, but suddenly Cro-Magnon are everywhere, but in one place. They're everywhere on the edge of the Mediterranean in northern Africa, and nowhere else in the world. They're all right here, and they're all living in caves and in underground burrows, and the only thing they have left to them is art. And their art is the best art ever seen anywhere. They even used the walls for 3D protuberance effect. You know, to make it to get that 3D effect, they chose different areas of the walls to make that bison look like a real bison. Their artwork was unparalleled.
Yeah, I think they were doing that to manifest it before they went hunting. They drew what they wanted to go and kill.
You, my friend, are going to offend me with that uniformitarian theory, bro.
Fucking hell.
That's exactly what happened after the cataclysm. But initially, we're dealing with a people structure, lost their technology, they lost their world. And we know that they lost it because they could have never been anatomically that way and been buried with all the things they were buried with and not had some high civilization somewhere. But we don't have any evidence of it. It was gone. Cataclysm. It was completely erased.
On the Mediterranean.
And these were the survivors. These were just surviving people in the mountains. What does the book of Revelation say? When the whole world goes through the earthquake and the stars fall from heaven and the sun turns black and the moon turns red, the kings and the rulers of the earth, what does it say? They're going to hide in the mountains, the caves, and the rocks. It's the same thing that Cro-Magnon did. Their history, to us, their history began in the cave systems. But we're looking at this the wrong way. That was the end of their history. We don't know what happened before that because they were wiped out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, man.
Yeah. They were wiped out. Nobody gets buried with everything they were buried with.
No, man. And they don't just shit out of nowhere in a cave.
Yeah, they had elaborate, beautiful bone combs. Oh, I'm talking about they had all kinds of stuff that showed high sophistication. But Ivar Zapp in the 1950s and another researcher had put together a whole list of all the evidence about Cro-Magnon along with in 1870s and 1880s, what is his name? Lewis Spence. I have 5 of his books up here. Lewis Spence did the same thing. He studied Magdalenian Cro-Magnon. He determined, we've been lied to. These people were the last remnants of a surviving, very advanced culture. They got wiped out. And get this, as soon as the Cro-Magnon appear, no development whatsoever. They're just suddenly hiding in caves and mountains, and they got all this evidence that they used to be advanced. But as soon as they appear in the historical record, guess what also appears? Neanderthal is all of a sudden hunting Cro-Magnon. Neanderthal came before Cro-Magnon. They developed way before Cro-Magnon, but there were still Cro-Magnon in the world there was still Neanderthal in the world when the Cro-Magnon collapsed. There's an overlap in anthropology. And archaeologists have even found the bone middens, whole piles of bones that have been excavated from Neanderthal camps, where the bones of Cro-Magnon men and women were literally cut, teeth marks. There was cannibalism. They got eaten. They got eaten. And the only way that could have happened is if a cataclysm occurred and allowed the wild people, the Neanderthal, to actually rise up against those who lost their infrastructure.
Yeah, I seen that. They were in caves near Gibraltar. They said the last remnants of the Neanderthal held on to like the just right at the edge of Europe, and then mysteriously disappeared. Like, you know, because they're gone, aren't they? I don't think they evolved into anything that's living with us now. The Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Do we know what color hair Neanderthals had? Like did they have, you know, did they have blonde hair, blue-eyed?
Well, okay, I'm gonna tell you now. The Cro-Magnon, the Cro-Magnon. These are like pre-Caucasian people. They had blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, red hair. They had all that. Neanderthal had black eyes, black hair. Totally different. There's almost no crossover here. And the bone structures are very, very different. The Neanderthal was built for this world, was built to be a hunter, built to be violent. His skeletal structure and musculature allowed for that, not the Cro-Magnon. The Cro-Magnon was built to push buttons. He had been doing something for so long that his arms had literally grown shorter and shorter and shorter. And he was still very tall, but his females there was no reason for them to defend the villages. Their technology was sufficient, and for such a long period of time that the females didn't have to grow big to be defenders of their youth anymore. So they stayed petite. And yeah, it's really compelling research. And
it sounds like the orcs. It sounds like the orcs in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Tolkien.
Oh yeah, Neanderthal would have been. Oh, you mentioned Lord of the Rings. What about the Book of Lost Tales? In the Book of Lost Tales and in the Silmarillion, J.R.R. Tolkien gives us the business about the ancient world because when he's giving us the histories of the origin of the elves, he says they came from the world before. It was an eternal twilight mist.
Interesting. Well, look at us. We're all self. We are self.
Yeah, it's a vapor canopy.
It says in the terminology, you know, there's something to do with elves. Ourselves.
Keep wondering. Do you think that's where they got the design for T-Rex from, with its small little arms?
I thought that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I believe that there was gigantic reptiles and gigantic amphibians.
Oh, definitely. That's what dinosaurs are.
An octopus. Giant octopus.
Is Jason frozen?
Yeah, I think he did.
Maybe screenshot
it and jump back in again.
All right. So what do you want to talk about? It's our podcast now, Martin. Let's take over.
Just give a big shout to everyone in chat.
Yes, hello everyone in chat.
Watching.
Yep.
Horror.
Hippie Shakes here, of course. Hello everyone else.
Chicky, Trusty, Pamela Swan, who's bringing the woohoos. Face diaper. And Otto chicken dinner. Love you all.
And I've seen a couple of posts. It's my birthday today, and a couple of people said happy birthday.
Oh my shit! No way!
Yeah, man.
Happy birthday, Campbell.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm 52, man.
You kept that secret.
Yeah, but I'm on a water fast, so I can't do anything.
I see that. I watched a bit of your hangout with Kelly today. And discussing how many poops you'd had. I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah, I'm on day 16 with no food, man.
I don't put myself through it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to just reset.
So how do you feel? Bionic?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I've felt pretty good. I'm losing a bit of energy this week, but I feel pretty good. It's actually been so much easier than I thought. Like I was going into it, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so bad. I might get 5 days if I'm lucky, but it was actually really easy. And
I just atomically change the structure of anything, charm it, so to speak. Anything that goes in my body, so all's good.
Well, yeah, there's that as well, right? We can put
It's
energy
all his
in.
belief, isn't it? And you know, you can believe what. Yeah.
Well, you hear it all the time with
thing.
cooking, right? Like it's got love in it and all this stuff, and it's so true, right? You know, you get like an old Italian, what do they call them? Oompa, or I can't remember what they call, you know,
What,
grandma.
I don't think they're Italian. Umpalupski.
Umpalupski. And they cook with love, but you know, you go to like fast food and no one gives a crap about your food. They don't want to be there, and that affects the food energetically. Like
I love the shit out of my food when I cook in it and taste.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys continue?
Yeah, man.
We held the show, man.
We held it together.
Yeah, man.
We only said good things about you.
We kept the breach.
StreamYard did that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can jump back on.
You guys know I live way out in the country, so sometimes my Wi-Fi is super strong, and I'll start strong, and in the middle of a stream, I'll watch it dip, and that's what happened. It dipped. So I switched over to my little mobile unit. I got a little mobile unit.
Yeah, I know the one.
You remember that one, man?
Yeah, man. You're Big John. It's awesome.
I've got a little dongle, and thanks to everyone in chat who's saying happy birthday to me.
Oh, it's Campbell's birthday, Jason. It's fucking birthday, boy.
That's not my birthday.
He's 30 years of age. Look. Paul's just
man.
destiny. Look at him, young man.
I'm turning 30 again. I'm not really 52.
You're growing younger.
I know, right?
Did you say 52?
52, man.
Yeah. Man, so I'm the youngster. Yeah.
You're
57.
You're
I thought I was older than you. I thought I was older than you. Yeah, man.
That's why you got a son, right? So you could be the young one, the youthful exuberance. But no, I think I just stay immature, right? And that keeps you young.
Yeah. And our combined hundreds of years of knowledge, we can use for the good.
Yeah, man.
Between us all. Yeah, man.
Definitely.
So, Campbell, have you ever given thought to writing a book, putting a book together?
Yeah, I've actually written half a book. I need to finish it. It's not on history, but yeah, I would like to do a history on too. But yeah, it's just on how I think, how I see the world, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So that should be out, well, probably early next year.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Ooh,
I want to read your Brian.
Yeah, I'm putting my Brian out there for the world to see.
I wouldn't mind trying just for the sake of it, like some.
Oh, you should, man. I had when I was in America, I did like what we called a reset retreat, where we were, you know, eating good food and, you know, meditating, all that kind of stuff, but no social media, and no social media for 2 weeks. I wrote half a book. I read about 4 books. The book just came out, man. So you give yourself a bit of time and just start writing, and you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
What comes out, yeah.
I don't have I just don't know. That's not my issue. That's not my problem. I can shut down, Campbell. I can literally tune the whole world out. My friends and family get frustrated with me. They do. I hear it all the time. And you know what? Sometimes I'll apologize. Sometimes I'll say, hey, man, you know what? I'm just doing other stuff. But this thing right here, I don't care. I'll turn it off. I'll grab one of these books, and I'm just gone. I'm gone. And it'll be 3, 4, 5 hours later. I'll pull it up, and I got a video. I haven't done any notes, but I got a video. I know I'm doing tomorrow.
The shit out of it, speed reading it.
Yeah. Man, I just, you know what? It's from prison, man. It's just from being in prison. Yeah. The ability to absorb new information.
I can shut the world off, but that's through having family and children and stuff. You just learn to shut the world off.
I mean, I get it. If you're trying to raise kids, it's different. But I don't have that. The only kids I got are 5 dogs, and they entertain themselves.
You got 5 dogs, wow, man.
Yeah, massive Rottweiler. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I got a huge Rottweiler.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, we've got a German Shepherd called Sherlock Holmes, and he's 11 months, man. He's just a puppy, but yeah, he's a big boy. It's good fun.
Beautiful dog. I love German Shepherds. One of my favorites.
I love dogs. Dogs are awesome. They've actually brought out a breed called a golden shepherd, and it's a golden retriever crossed with a German shepherd.
Oh,
so they look awesome, and that must be one smart man.
Species.
I know, right?
But that's lush.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm wearing my hide and seek champion shirt today.
Ah, yeah, man. Yo, Bigfoot.
Yeah, he's good at it as well. Yeah, man.
So, Campbell, I'm always thinking about vapor canopy conditions and how they apply to anything that we're just not wrapping our heads around. So, I'm very intrigued about Australia and how it relates to a vapor canopy world, because if our world, we already know. I mean, the three of us do. There may be a bunch of people listening who overlook it because they're still stuck in that paradigm. We know damn well we're not on a globe. We know damn well that the sun's not 93 million miles away. All that whole narrative's BS. We know that. So, but where I'm stuck with is we've got these areas of the world that are absolute proof that a vapor canopy was recently here, and yet how is it possible that the same evidence isn't all over the world? A case in point is the continent of Australia, and I'm going to go the periphery as well, because you have to include New Zealand. You have to include all the island chains that are in the local area, because if the sea level was to go down 700 feet, they'd all be connected. All that area would be connected to Australia.
Yeah.
So
the
reason I'm saying
so I was just going to say the ocean between Australia and Papua New Guinea is only 15 meters deep.
All right.
Right. That's why the elite are buying up real estate under the water right now. You remember I have projections about what's going to happen to the area of
Far
Australia.
East. Yeah.
Australia is not even going to be the Australian continent no more. Australia is going to be a supercontinent, which is going to be 2 or 3 times bigger. Because one thing about the Phoenix phenomenon is it's amazing what it does. It's all about upheaval and subsidence. It's the sky that moves, but upheaval and subsidence is going to make things appear to go through in a pole shift when it's not. You have to envision the movie Dark City from 1998 to really understand what I'm talking about. You remember how the sea changed buildings, it changed things, and then the sky would move. Every bit of it was very real to those that were inside, who were always looking for Shell Beach. Remember that?
Yeah, man.
So
Awesome.
It's the same. It's the same situation. But with Australia, we have an anomaly. That anomaly is 99.9% of all the marsupials in the world are in Australia.
Exactly
We
right.
have a renegade called the opossum that's everywhere else in the world. But very few marsupials are anywhere in the world but New Zealand, some in Tasmania, a whole bunch in the Indonesian, South Indonesian islands, all of Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea. This is where the marsupials are. But when we research the marsupials, we find out something very unique. In the daytime, marsupials are almost dormant, but at nighttime they thrive. They can see in the dark. They like the nighttime. Are we looking at an entire ecological fossilized system that stayed behind from a recent vapor canopy? Is that where they came from?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, obviously they tell us it's because Australia broke off and evolution and all that.
From Antarctica came up quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they definitely are. Most of them are nocturnal, and they're definitely an anomaly. So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, there's some reason, right, that out here, that they're all, a different species, right? I mean, you look at the platypus, man. That's a marsupial that lays eggs. That's a weird one.
The duck-billed platypus is basically the construct's way of waking up anybody who's using their head.
It really is. That's what
avian. It's crazy. An avian, a mammal, and a marsupial all put together. It doesn't even make any sense. So
yeah, well, when they first took one back to England, no, everyone thought it was just put together. Like no one believed it was an actual animal. Yeah. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of anomalies down here.
So yeah, I would like to do. I know you and Kelly. I remember the video. It was like a year and a half ago. You and Kelly and I did a video about Australian marsupials and about the Dravidian artifacts that were found from India in Australia, showing that there was a connection with the Aboriginals.
Yeah. The languages, yeah.
Now, most people don't realize, man, the Australian Bushmen are Caucasians. It's really hard for people to process that. They don't understand. But they're in anthropology, they're actually considered dark Caucasoid. They're yes, the Bushmen are actually the phenotype of Caucasians. But it's crazy because they got jet black skin. But yeah, it's crazy. When I read all that, I was like, wow, how's that possible?
Yeah, if you look at a picture of an Australian Aboriginal and put it next to an Indian, one of the darker Indians, they look exactly the same.
Of course they do. Yeah, that's why those very, very ancient artifacts found in Australia were Dravidian. Yeah, there was once a land bridge when the Pacific was lower by about 700 feet. You could walk from India to Australia. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of anomalies coming up now in Australia. Obviously, the Gosford glyphs, which apparently the government are planning or trying to cover up or destroy. I've just found like an area in WA in the middle of the desert, and it's just got all these ruins that look like ruins of an ancient civilization there that's been completely destroyed. And of course, practically all of Australia is just desert, right? Something massive happened there. There's nothing in like 90% of Australia. It's just nothing, right? It's just desert. That's crazy.
Maybe there's people living actually like Mad Max out there and don't know there's a real world.
Yeah.
Remember when they were saying Australia doesn't exist? Remember that one?
Yeah.
I mean, I can absolutely imagine a subterrestrial civilization that's so deep, living their own life down there, that have come into contact with the surface before and were so terrified about the things they saw, they just stayed down there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, man.
I've seen them surface dwellers. Don't bother. Stay down here.
Listen, it's a simple exercise. Most people can do it in their mind. If you can't, you can do it on paper. But if you take a flat plane, it doesn't even matter if you believe the world's a globe. The living biosphere is less than 3 miles. And what I mean is that from the highest mountain in Everest to the deepest area of the Marianas Trench is only 12 miles. But there's nobody living 200 feet below sea level, and there's nobody living 3 miles altitude. You understand? So the biosphere for humans is 3 miles on the surface, but that doesn't pertain to the underworld. There's more real estate. You could make diagonal cities, 200 levels of diagonal cities going down 60 miles and have way more people than New York City could ever have. Pancaking cities on top of each other that would even have no contact with each other. Put them diagonal, and you still have way more real estate underground than you do on the surface world. On the surface world, you can literally only go in 2 directions. In the underworld, you can build in 3 directions.
Yeah. And we're starting to discover so many down there.
Raccoon City. Resident Evil. We see the Umbrella Corporation, it goes for miles below ground.
Yeah. Man. I did a post on X the other day. I got some really interesting answers. But I said, hey guys, I was up in my feelings about something. I don't remember what it was. But I said, hey guys, if the Time Variance Authority was able to remove one bastard from this world that you just really want to get rid of, who would it be? Man, you wouldn't believe all this. I got so many names. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, man. Who would it be for you, Martin? If the time, you know who the TVA is, right?
Yeah, of course I do. The Time Variant Cops. Yeah, man. Fucking hell.
Yeah, man.
Right.
If the Time Variance Authority if that door appeared right here and popped out on you, Martin, and said, "Hey, man, just give us the one. Who's the one? Who's the one guy? Who'd it be, man?"
Is this somebody that still exists now, or is this somebody from the past? Because you know the way the TVA works.
I didn't even go that deep.
All right. Well, so like I can't think of anyone actually.
Well, the person that you choose by removing him, this is time variance authority. It removes everything he did too. It removes all his shit too.
So yeah, you think I'm going to choose the obvious examples like Stalin or Hitler or Idi Amin or one of them, but I'm not. I'm not. Okay, I'm not even going to take Jesus out of the variant. Yeah, all of that can stay because it makes the world we live in. Imagine if that was a real thing. They're pushing it like it's a real thing.
Man, I'll tell you, dude. My choice was Steven Spielberg. That's what I chose.
Oh wow, okay, interesting.
I chose Steven Spielberg because his whole back history. And look, in my educated opinion, his back history is total bullshit. Total bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it.
He's done lots of movies about the Holocaust as well, which is very dodgy.
He's done all kinds of movies that promote ancient aliens, alien theory, promote uniformitarianism, promote all the things the scientific
Indiana Jones.
The space, all this bullshit. Listen, but not only that, his story's bullshit. First of all, your name is Spielberg, all right? So don't tell me some bullshit story that when you were 22, 21, 23 years old, you didn't have a dime in your pocket and you knew that your dream was to be a Hollywood director. So what you did is you snuck in MGM Studios and you got friendly with the security guy and started giving him breakfast and all that and made it in. And then you found an empty office and you just set it up like you were somebody. And every time they were filming movies, you walked out onto the set and talked to people. And after 2 years, people were coming to you for advice. And then finally somebody, a big cheese, realized you don't even have, who are you? This office is fake and all that. But you were so good by that time they just hired you anyway. That's his backstory. I'm not buying it.
No, that sounds like that film with when that guy was pretending to be an airline pilot and everything else that he made. With
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If
You
Can.
That, isn't it? It's a quick thing.
Yeah, man. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories like that. Steve Jobs starting off in a garage, and all these people. All the big companies, right? Apparently started off in garages, and just
Bill
suddenly,
Gates, his story's a lie.
They were billionaires. Yeah. All those people.
But I mean, they even exist. None of us have seen them. Maybe they're just AI or something. We don't know.
It could be. I mean, AI has been around a lot longer than the last year or two, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, you guys already know.
But, I mean,
that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to remove someone, it's hard because we don't actually know the people who are above the people that are put out in front of us, right? I mean, that's who you really want to get. But there's characters like Soros and, obviously Billy Boy and all these people. What's that guy? You'll eat bugs and be happy. Klaus, all these people. But I mean, I think if you remove them, that they'd just be replaced, right, by their controllers.
Yeah, they're just like Hydra. They just shit out another head. There'd be no weirdo telling us what to do.
Yeah, that's all. It really is.
I know.
Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday, because there's basically a caste system, right? Where and they tell us there's lower class, middle class, all this, but we basically, us normal people, we can't really rise the ranks to the super rich unless we start, selling our soul and all this. So even though it looks like we're on the bottom, we're actually the freest people around. Because once you start moving up, you just get more and more controlled, right? Your money's really not yours because if you step out of line, they just destroy you and take it all. So we're definitely in the best caste or class, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not. You know what? I don't care about prestige. I don't care about all that shit. I'm never going to be cultured. I'm always going to be the guy that mispronounces words. I'm always going to be the guy that gets on the defensive when somebody strange approaches me and whoever I'm with. I'm always going to be the guy that you know what? I don't give a damn about the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I have almost no respect for anybody who would draw attention to the fact that they have a PhD or they have a master's in anything. It's so far, I am so unimpressed with everybody who is in media today, and I'm listening to them opine about different things, and and you read their credentials, and they got a PhD in this, and they got a master's in that. Listen, I am unimpressed, and I have no problem embarrassing those people if they come to my channel. But I just don't. I'm just sick of it. All I want to do is talk to my friends and family and the people that'll listen to me on YouTube. And really, I'm just at the point where the rest of the world can F off. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, man. They're just more indoctrinated, right? Like, I respect autodidactics, right? People who can think for themselves. Much more value to the world, you know. All these other people just parrot the narrative. That's all they do. And if they don't, they lose their jobs. You know, I mean, it's happened to so many archaeologists and that they find something that's out of the narrative and they try and bring it out and they lose their job and get black banned. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, they also get killed. I mean, do you remember 2 or 3 years ago when that plane fell out of the sky over Ukraine and then we found out all those doctors were on that plane? Remember that? That was like 3 years ago.
Yep.
A whole jet just fell out of the sky going over Ukraine, and then we find out there's 20-something doctors all going to the same convention. What just happened over South America? Do you see how weird that plane fell?
Yeah.
It didn't crash like a conventional plane. It was literally doing a belly flop. It just went straight down like that. I saw the footage. I got a video. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it when I do the UK video. But during the Olympics, the plane just fell out of the sky, and then 2 days later, it's all over social media who was on that plane. There was supposed to be 17 doctors on that plane. They're all cancer doctors who are reporting on the turbo cancers from the damage from the deals. You know what I mean?
No way.
So 17 doctors were doing a convention to reveal to the public, hey man, this is what we found out. Well, at the last minute, 8 or 9 of them took a different plane at the last minute. But the ones that were still on that plane, 8 of them, 8 of the principal doctors, they were on that plane when it died. But it is so weird watching that plane fall out of the sky. It's like it got zapped. Instead of a plane, it just stopped and it just pancaked all the way to the ground from high altitude.
Yeah, one just fell out of the same way.
Never seen a plane crash like that.
See, I didn't watch it.
Just did the same thing in Brazil.
That's what I was about.
Yeah. It's just the Titanic story, right? Redone. It's the same script, just played over and over.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It is so crazy.
Did Martin freeze, or is he there? He looks like
he's
frozen.
I'm just
my
brain
deep thought.
Actually thinking generally what I do.
Yeah, well, I saw a video and this guy was talking about the Brazil crash, and he just basically said, whenever there's a plane crash, I find out who was on board. And all the ones he's looked into, there's always, you know, important people, if you want to put it that way, or people with knowledge that they want to get rid of, right?
Yeah, man. It's I could. Those people went through some terrible stuff. Because I know what they went through, because I was watching the video footage and how high it just fell. It was just like like a belly flop, just twisting in the air, coming straight down. It's almost like a Star Trek tractor beam hit it and was just shoving it to the ground. Because it's such a weird way to fall. But you can imagine the people on the inside, because you know when you're on a roller coaster, your gut just goes up. You know what I mean? You can imagine there's nothing you can do but hold on. I can't even imagine how bad it was for them, because I know Dawn almost killed me in Galveston when she put me on one of those little roller coasters.
That is your own fault. That is crazy.
Listen, our relationship almost ended that night.
Yeah.
That lady told me I was going to have some fun. I almost died on a pier in Galveston on this thing. I don't even know what it was, but it spun me around.
It's 1,000 foot in the air and it spins the fuck around, Jason. Man, nobody in their right mind goes on a thing like that.
Man, all I can think about was, man, I hope that lag bolt holds. Man, if there's just one link in this chain that's not good, that's all I can think about. I'm going straight to, you know, the whole apparatus. I can't even enjoy it. I can't look out now. You know what? So So I got off that, and later on I calmed down because hey, you know what? I was pretty upset about that. And she said, well, look, just let's relax and let's get on this other one. So she found one that was flat on the ground, and then you sit in a chair, and she sat next to me, and they pulled this bar over me. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking we're about to go forward, and it's just like a little small deal. Man, this dude turns around and clears, and everybody's got to clear this bar, and everybody got to get back. So I'm getting nervous. I'm like, man, it ain't that serious. All we're going to do is go around. You know what I mean? Man, they turned that thing on. It was high velocity. It was, listen, I almost died on that one. I literally felt my lungs and my stomach. I felt my esophagus all going this way. It's all going this way while I'm being pulled this way. Yeah, I got off that, and if I wasn't so dizzy, I was going to give Dawn the business. But, man, I had to sit down.
Feel all right once your organs go back in place, though.
Man, dude, I'll never. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And the wooden ones, man, and they just like click, 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 click.
I've seen a guy literally doing a bolt up on a roller coaster. I was with my son. I said, definitely going on that, just to see what will happen. I have to watch him Final Destination. Give it a go.
Jeez, man. Yeah, I'm definitely not into those rides. They're a bit dodgy, man.
I'll never do that.
Especially the fairs, right? They have these fairs and everything gets brought in on a trailer and just sort of set up in a day, and then they're running, and you just think, oh my God, who looks after these machines? You just never know. I mean, taking your life.
I got on a plane with my friend Patrick a couple of years ago to go to Czech Republic, and just to wind everybody else up that was in the cabin, he says to me, oh man, remember that plane that hit the runway in Tenerife, killing 240 people, man? As we were taking off. You could hear the people going, ah, ah.
Well, I mean, I kind of have a little history in aviation. I mean,
yeah,
I told you guys before.
God, aviation.
My dad had some planes, and when I was a kid, I was raised. Oh, that's what I did at Meacham Field, Arrow Valley Airport, and Mangrum Airport. All three of them are outside of Fort Worth. When I was with the Brashears family, they adopted me from 5 years old to 15 years old before I ran away. In that 10-year period, we were in and out of planes because my dad had Beechcrafts, Bonanzas, Cessnas, Piper's pipelines. He had single engine aircraft. He had twin engine. And I flew everywhere. I used to do touch and goes. I used to go up and down. In the 80s, they didn't care. The towers, little country towns, they don't give a damn in those municipal airports. It ain't like today where everybody's got to have permission and all that. Back then, I just get in a little old Piper, a single prop, and I call the tower. This is N4992 Delta. That's her call number on the side of the plane. I get on there and say, this is N4992 Delta requesting permission to do touch and goes. And they always bust me. It says, that ain't Dan Brashears. Jason, is that you? I say, yeah, I got my permission. And my dad will be taking a nap. He'll be in one of the hangars napping. I'll take off and I'll do touch and goes. I got to get permission which one I got to do it in, and then I come in, I'm done. Can't do that today. But it was a different world in the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh yeah.
So but I've seen plane crashes. My dad and I just came over the Rockies. We were in New Mexico in Albuquerque, and we were at a municipal airport, and behind us we had to relay a mayday because behind us in the mountains there was a faint signal where a guy was maydaying. But the ground on the other side of the mountains at the airport could not hear it. So we relayed the mayday, said, hey, man, we got a mayday call behind us since they're coming in. And they said, well, what's the problem? It says, they say that the entire substructure under the wing is solid ice. And their retractable landing gear won't come down. I said, so we normally flew fixed wing. Pipers and pipelines, a lot of Cessnas, they have fixed wing, it doesn't retract. It just stays out with the tires. So this is what we normally flew. The guy behind us had like an Apache, which is a Cessna that has under the wings the wheels pop out right before you want to use them, and it's a twin engine. So he's having problems. He's about to have a bad day. I'll never forget that. So we were guided in to the taxi when we landed, and we were guided to taxi because he was right on our tail, but he had to land fast. And as soon as we taxied and got out, my dad and I ran with my little sister, and we ran to the coffee shop, turned around, looked through right when he hit. All the emergency vehicles were all ready. Well, I watched this guy without any landing gear. We watched this guy, my dad, my sister, and I. this guy hit the end of the runway and then just hydroplaned his on the bottom of his wings all the way down to the end of the runway, went into the grass, all through the bushes and all that. And the entire time, it's green sparks and green fire coming out the back of his deal. It's all the metal on the bottom of the plane. So we ran out, my sister and I ran out to the tarmac, and these perfectly round steel balls of all different sizes were everywhere because it was ice pack. The ground was frozen. The runway was cold as hell. So the molten metal instantly froze into these big, beautiful globs of steel, and we collected them. We had bags full of these things, and we watched this guy. A crane picked up his plane, and he was perfectly safe. He stepped out the bottom of his plane. His whole undercarriage was melted off. Yeah, watch this.
Was it aluminium?
What?
The plane, was it aluminium? Aluminum.
Oh, aluminum. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but we watched him come out the bottom of the fuselage because the fuselage had melted off. It was gone.
That's crazy. I mean, the whole story about planes is crazy, right? How did we go from the Wright brothers to planes doing dogfights in World War One in what, like 5 or 6 years?
1903.
Yeah, man.
Are you talking about Kitty Hawk 1903?
Kitty Hawk, yep.
Yep.
I know, right? And that only flew, what was it, 100 yards or something? It was the first manned flight. Or it was just, but then, come World War One, and they've got bloody dogfighting planes. It's just stupid.
Yeah, man. They got machine guns on top, Vickers timed on top of propellers so that the bullets missed the propeller. That's like some shit hot science right there. Think about it. So they're timed it just right so the bullet goes through the propeller.
No way.
Yes, way. That's what they're doing.
What?
Yeah, they timed it. It's all on the same mechanism as the Vickers and the propeller. So they constantly
I know what he's talking about.
1,000 miles an hour. Boom, boom, boom.
That's crazy.
The propeller.
But it does make you wonder how, the technology is just so crazy. Because you guys know, man, I got a whole list of things that all just suddenly appeared in 1901, 1902, and 1903. Doesn't even make sense. Where'd all this shit come from? One of them is air conditioning. What the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How'd that just happen all of a sudden?
In 1903, really? Wow, jeez, I didn't know that.
No. Air conditioning was invented by a company called Carrier in the year 1902. Yeah, man, I got a whole list of all the things that we take for granted today, like disposable razors, 1902. Go figure. Yeah, I've got a whole list of all the inventions that suddenly appeared in the world in 1902 or 1903. Like Harley Davidson, 1903. Indian bikes too. There's so many. Like air flight, dude, it just doesn't even make sense. Last reset was a soft reset.
It was a soft reset.
It was 1902, man.
Sure.
It was 1902.
So what do you think about Harley these days, Jason? Did you hear Harley went woke? Harley Davidson, they went woke.
I know I love my Harley Fat Boy. I love my motorcycle. My motorcycle's a beast. And whatever Harley Davidson does is their business. But as long as they keep making Fat Boys, I'll
You're good.
Yeah, listen, I love the Fat Boy. I don't like other Harleys. I don't like Roadsters, Road Kings. The Fat Boy's a huge bike. Martin's seen mine. I got this massive. I got a huge tire on the back. Yeah, man, it goes. And because the bike is like 970 pounds, oh yeah, I've got so many accessories on it now. Oh, Martin's not even seen all the new stuff. I got new cages, bars. I got fog lights put on her. I've added a lot more weight to it. New pipes. So I got new LED lights front and back. It's such a heavy bike that when I throttle it, there's the tire's so wide it doesn't peel out. It just grabs the concrete and goes. It's like a rocket. Wow. So I love it. I love it, man. Don't get me talking about my bike, man.
It can't be being on the open road on your bike though. It's the best. Man.
So what about the old Flatiron building? The most famous building in New York is the Cheese Wedge building on Fifth Avenue. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course you do.
Hold on. You remember it's 21 stories high. It's listed as the world's first skyscraper. 21 stories high. You remember in Ghostbusters, the evil gremlins and all kinds of gargoyles that are on the top? They're still there. You remember the individual bricks are all handcrafted. They're really evil, real badass artwork. Listen, guys, the official story for the Flatiron Building is that construction began in 1901 and it was finished in 1902.
Of course,
I'm not lying to you. Every bit of this can be verified. I got my videos on 1902 discuss all these things. It's amazing, man. It doesn't even make any sense. Doesn't even make any sense.
Taking some changes, though. They took all of the statues that were on the top off at some period. Nobody knows when, though, with the flatter on. There was like Greco-Romano figurines on the top.
Wow.
Nobody knows when. Can't seem to find out either.
Replaced with guard.
I want to talk to my lunch break too about one of his data sets is very, very, very interesting about. He shows the world populations that are officially posted from century to century, showing what the world populations were, and then he extrapolates going back to the years that we don't have records for them. But just off the years that we do, if you go by what this arithmetic shows, then it shows in the 6th century there was nobody here. The population was 0. This is exactly what I showed in the Phoenix phenomenon. In 522 AD, we had 2 things happen that never happened in the history of the world. In my entire chronicon, the Phoenix phenomenon, the Phoenix object in the sky, has never been seen in the sky at the same time as the Nemesis X object. I have 2 separate books, 2 separate chronologies, 2 separate data sets about these. But yet, in 1 year in world history, 522 AD, they were both here. And yet that happens to be the 6th century AD. That happens to be the exact same time that Procopius in his Secret History was writing about. It was the great Justinian darkness, 25 years of episodes of cataclysms, knows the sun darkened, all kinds of shit. That's when I think the vapor canopy came. That's when I think the actual Roman Empire fell. I think the old world fell at this event. And what separates the old world of the Romans and the Greeks and the Etruscans and the Mediterranean Phoenicians, what separates ancient Egypt, Babylon, Akkad, is vapor canopies. Because what ended the Greco-Roman world, because it was called Greco-Roman for a reason, there's a lot of crossover between them. But what ended that world was this destruction.
Well, it was regarded as being the Fertile Crescent, wasn't it? And the evidence for North Africa, it was a green and lush place, and now it's just dust.
If we put a vapor canopy starting at 522 all the way to about the year 1000, if we put a 500-year vapor canopy right there, man, the history of the world is mathematically perfect now. We got this awesome. I've already drawn a chart to demonstrate it, but man, it makes perfect sense of everything. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is going to different people. Campbell might come up with some more information that he's got so many videos, and so do you, Martin. You guys might find more information about the 6th century and 7th century AD that will show us more evidence, or especially these maps and how they just suddenly appeared in the 14th century when that vapor canopy would have collapsed, 100 years earlier. So if we put a vapor canopy in that period, it's going to answer for many of the mysteries that we haven't been able to solve in the Antiquitech, the architecture, the cartography, and even the traditions. We're going to be able to put a bunch of these things together, and that's my goal right now. This is where I'm at. This is the trajectory I'm going on.
Like it.
Yeah, because there's an equation, isn't there, where you can get the population of the world, and it's an equation of you can go backwards and it'll tell you, basically you can work out, when the.
Well, I might explain where all the missing dead are, because they're not there, are they?
The what?
The missing dead. Where are all the people? There was trillions and trillions that went before us. Where are they?
Yeah, that's a good question, right?
Well, I mean, it's really easy. Okay, I know you guys are familiar with what happened to Port Royal in 17.
Jamaica,
Yeah,
was
man,
it
it went
1755 was Lisbon, Portugal, when 60,000 people just vanished in the sea. But Port Royal was a pirate haven, and I can't remember the date, but they had an earthquake, and people in the ships literally watched people on land in Port Royal during the vibrating of the earthquake sink into the ground and absolutely disappear. Thousands of people. 1692. Okay, thousands of people literally out there were trying during the earthquake had got out of the buildings of Port Royal, trying to get safe so the buildings don't fall on them. This is standard procedure to get away from all the structures so they don't collapse on you. But when they went outside, the vibrating of the earthquake literally had the ground liquefied. So they sank like quicksand in the ground. When the earthquake stopped, every bit of that solidified, and they were entombed in the ground, unable to dig their way out.
You want me to show you some pictures of them? I got some actual pictures.
Oh, you got some pictures of that? Yeah. That's Port Royal, man.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, it's just off of Kingston, Jamaica. There it is. It's a sandspit, but yeah, man, it was supposed to be the wickedest city on earth. People said it was divine intervention that made it disappear into the...
Yeah, but that could be a cover story. You know.
Yeah, sure, of course. They say that for a lot of these places.
Christians say the same thing about Herculaneum and Pompeii. Oh, the reason God destroyed them with a volcano Vesuvius is because they were evil. You know what I mean? So that's just cover. That's just cover story. We don't know.
Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
I thought I had more images of. I got some images you can go and visit in the modern day, where there's all like half sunken, you know, from the vitrification that happened there, half sunken buildings.
Oh, we didn't get to see anything.
Well, I only had the maps there. I don't know where the
all right.
pictures are for. I thought they showed pictures of the event. You know, I got quite a bit of data on it. But yeah, that Lisbon event. So I went to Portugal recently, and this guy, a sub, turns up, and he's like, "Oh well, the Lisbon event. People here don't actually think that's what went on." I said, "What? The earthquake?" Because the place where I was supposed to be really massively earthquake affected by the 1755 event. So I'm like, right, well, what's supposed to happen? And he reckoned that the British Navy were in the river at the back of Lisbon and destroyed the city from conventional gunfire or whatever.
Hey, check it out. I'm going to have to argue that one because
I don't believe either.
Lisbon, Portugal was only one city affected by that earthquake in 1755.
All the way
in my chronicle. Yeah, in my Chronicon, I showed it started in
Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah, it went from Moscow, cut Europe in half, went to Lisbon, Portugal, through Atlantic islands of like the Canaries, went all the way into South America, through the Bahamas. That earthquake shook everything into South America. It was
massive.
Half the world shook.
8.1
in 1755. Yeah, I remember that. I got a lot of notes on that disaster. Because
so I say about the pictures chronology, but yeah, so I wasn't buying it either. I went to this star fort and they said it was heavily affected by the event, and it was like hundreds of feet in the air. So this must have been some big tsunami and big earthquake event, you know, huge.
Yeah, it was well, the historical record says what happened was during the shaking of the city of Lisbon, the people got away from the stone buildings and the timbers, because that's what really kills you in an earthquake. So they thought the place of safety was this ancient quay, which was solid bedrock that was jutting out of the sea that they had anchored ships to outside of Lisbon, and it could fit 60,000 people. So 60,000 people crowded onto this quay, and during the earthquake, suddenly, without warning, the whole quay broke away from the coast and went straight down, and it went straight down so suddenly that they never found a single article of clothing, no hats, no bodies floated up to the surface. Literally a rift under the ocean opened up and they just got sucked down in it.
Swallowed in.
Yeah, their death was instant. Yeah, their death, they were out of there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Huge event.
Was that around Pompeii time as well?
No, that was 1755. Pompeii and
70.
Herculaneum was 79 AD, and the
Well,
only famous person that died in that one, Mount Vesuvius erupted and killed and buried in pumice the people of Herculaneum and Pompeii, which were Roman luxury cities. They were literally like escort cities, massage parlors. They had archaeologists have not been allowed to show a lot of the things that were found. I have a video on Archaix TV where I show the artifacts, a lot of ancient sex toys, all the things that archaeologists have found in Herculaneum and Pompeii that were for sale in these shops. Oh yeah, and listen, people were. Hey Campbell, what you laughing at? People were freaky back then too, man. You know what I mean? We ain't changed a bit.
oh yeah, I know.
Humans today are just as horny as we were back then. Ain't nothing had no change.
Yeah. I'm just, picturing an archaeologist digging away, and then it's like, oh, it's a dildo.
Yeah, exactly. I show pictures of them. So anyway, that was 79 AD, and Pliny the Elder, one of my personal literary heroes, had got news that a noble woman from an equestrian family who he knew was in trouble, and she needed a ship. So he had a ship, and he got his household together, and they went back to Herculaneum to rescue her, but they got trapped in the storm, and they got buried alive in pumice and all. And so Pliny the Elder is gone. It would be amazing if archaeologists found the ship of Pliny. It would be amazing. But that's how he died.
So you believe that Pompeii was 79 BC? Because there's a lot of talk that it was a lot more.
No. I believe it was 79 AD.
AD, is it?
Yeah.
AD.
Well, Vesuvius also buried. Archaeologists found 2 cities underneath Pompeii and Herculaneum. It's far more ancient than the Romans, and they call it the Avellino event. The Avellino event, they dated at 1700 BC. That is exact scientific bullseye for 1687 BC, the Ogygian deluge. So when the Romans built Herculaneum and Pompeii, they didn't even know that 2 cities were already here. They were just 100 and something feet deep, and they built on top of them, and they got buried just like Herculaneum and Pompeii. And then in the 1500s or the 1400s, Vesuvius erupted again, and the villages that were at the mouth, they got buried again. I don't know why people keep building towns and villages near volcanoes. I don't know why they don't learn.
It's bonkers, isn't it? You think no one would live in San Francisco after what happened there, but there you go, they do.
Yeah, and California, they're still waiting for the big earthquake, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it was a technology, though. I'm thinking along the lines of just technology rather than fault lines rubbing, because it's just like there's a switch off with earthquakes. It's like this really accelerated time of these events, which I associate with these, cycle events, and then. I got this record of the earthquakes of the Mediterranean, and then they just peter out. There's been a few. There was a big one in Constantinople. That's the most notable massive earthquake in the region. And then they just peter out. There just seems to be nothing in the modern day on the equivalent, Vesuvius, there's like 10 million people, in the Bay of Naples, and living in the area. They don't seem to give a damn about, the getting wiped up by pumice and pyroclastic flow. It's just craziness.
Yeah. Well, we still have our disasters, but the Western world doesn't really report these things. I'll give you an example. Almost every single year, tens of thousands of people get washed out to sea in Bangladesh. Nobody's reporting.
Yeah, man. In the Delta, that happens.
Yeah, nobody reports it.
No, I know that. No, agreed.
Crazy.
That definitely goes down. I know.
Yeah, well, there were massive tidal waves in Africa. I think it was late last year, wasn't it? Or maybe early this year, and there was just nothing at all on the media about it. You just didn't hear anything.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, it was. I think it was around the eclipse time, so it would have been this year. What was that? March, I think. But yeah, just media black. But we all know, right? They only tell us what they want us to think, really, not even know that what they want us to think. But yeah, Mount St. Helens, there's a lot of caves.
That was crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I went to Belgrade Star Fort, and that place is just crazy. It looks like it's been rebuilt like 3 times, at least the stuff on the surface you can see. It's just, the walls are just all these, it's just a mash of like the old big bricks, and then there's like small red bricks shoved in there and random rocks, and then other bits are just clearly pretty new, you know, almost look pristine. It's just, it's crazy. So I mean, that they keep rebuilding these things, right? And then telling us that it's all hundreds of years old. But yeah, or like, what was the stuff what you saw?
Well, I just
like,
instantly, I felt a bit pukey when I got in there, because I thought it was just the oppressive atmosphere, but I think it was just not eating in the heat. But it gave me the sense of, you remember when we went to Pecos monument, Jason, in New Mexico, Pecos? It was like this cathedral up in the, remember that? It just gave me the sense it was exactly the same sort of material. It was just like it, you know. It was just like, I instantly was like, oh, it's just like that. So, but the history of it is, the people in the region, it's all about like Henry the Navigator and the mapping school, the cartographer school that was apparently there, where Vasco da Gama and all the map makers were educated. But the people in the region say there was no school here. It didn't exist. It's just all like Disney. And also that the slavery went out of this place, this Star Fort. Yeah, you know, they want to tell you there's all these hundreds of people just going up this tunnel into this Star Fort, being, you know, corralled in it, and then getting on ships off to the Americas, because it was the closest place in Europe to America. You know, you go to the Azores and then hop across. So, and there's supposed to be a slave market there. Again, the locals say, yeah, that's what was going down. You know, the locals are not saying the same as what the, you know, the weak historical narrative is for the place. It's very strange there. But it's almost as if they got a really big history and they're covering it up. Because what I heard about the Portuguese Inquisition, you want to see about what they got up to? Wow, forget the Spanish Inquisition, the Portuguese Inquisition. Oh my God. Yeah, they were just, it was more just, they were just taking people's everything. They were just like getting people in, saying they were heretics, and then just stealing all their stuff, basically. But yeah, it's a really covered up story.
Well, Pecos, you and I did a video about Pecos, but I had to put it on Archaix TV. I didn't put it on YouTube. But man, Campbell, you should have been there. We literally went through a place that they said was built by the early Spanish settlers and all that stuff. And Martin and I went in there and found modern concrete. The whole foundation was modern concrete. It said they built on top of modern. How could it have been built by the Spanish? And they had this brown stucco on there to make it look old and all that, but it was crumbling in some parts. And they even tried to hide the fact that the foundation was just modern regular steel, rebar and concrete, because they put this blockade up, but it was stupid. It was a wooden blockade. We just moved it. And we just moved it and we went behind it. And we turned our cameras on and we started recording all that because we couldn't believe what we were looking at. This thing couldn't have been built more than the 1960s or 70s. But they were saying it was 400 years old. And right there in front of us, blatantly, right there in front of us, they had a dozer moving fake blocks from the 1600s. You remember that, Martin?
Yeah, man. It is.
Couldn't believe it.
It's a joke.
I'm like, they weren't even trying to hide it. I was like, what the hell is it? Man, are we actually seeing this for real? While tourists are here, they're moving with a bulldozer. They're moving all these blocks, positioning them, and they had these walls that are supposed to be hundreds and hundreds of years old. And yet, Martin and I were looking at them and like, somebody just shoved rocks in here and made it look like that. But there's no way that they could have been here for hundreds of years, because the slightest wind would knock them over. They're always over here
really
putting them back in.
Terrible walls.
They put them back in all the time. So, hey, man, it's comical. It's comical what we saw. Absolutely.
We saw heaps of that in the Balkans. Like, we started calling them like history theme parks. Like in Dubrovnik, in the castle there, you know, the castle looked old, but inside all the buildings looked almost brand new, right? And they're like, oh no, they just got renovated and blah blah. But I mean, it looks like it's just all maybe 50 years old at the most. So a lot of this history stuff, you know, like you're saying, we can't just take the story, right, which is what we're all about. Like, but I think a lot of these so-called ancient places just aren't. You know, they've built on top or around something that might be older, but I mean, who knows? The whole thing could be built, right? So yeah, like a lot of these places, it was just, and you can see like in Dubrovnik, you could hardly move. There were so many tourists, man. That place was just like, God, it would have been pulling in millions and millions, and it didn't even look that real, you know. But for the average person, I guess, they just get sort of blown away and go, oh my God, it's so ancient, and don't even question the narrative. But so many places, man, we're just like, oh, this is just another theme park.
Yeah. Well, one place that Martin and I wanted to go to, we just kind of got short-stopped. Rockwall, Texas has an anomaly.
Yeah.
I have the original black and white photographs, and they show actual windows in the side of a wall underground and giant I'm talking about huge blocks in the bottom and smaller brick on the top, but it's all underground. It goes a long way. It's a real wall. And you can't fake the pictures are old from the 1800s, and it shows a window with the keystone and all that. But when we called Rockwall and talked to the people in Rockwall, we were directed to a local geologist. This town is tiny, but it has a geologist on call right there in the town who everybody is directed to if they're curious about anything about Rockwall. So the geologist sent me an email with a huge printout trying to dissuade me from coming there, because if you think this is anything other than a geological formation, you're going to be disturbed. We see people all the time that think that something was actually found here, but it's not. It's just a geological formation. And this man doesn't know I have the original pictures, and I have the original articles when this was excavated. Miles of this thing was excavated. And remember, Martin, when we saw the aerial photography that shows that this thing actually underground goes like 20 miles in a square. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah,
we saw all that. But there was nothing natural about it. It was man-made. And people in the 1880s were not stupid. When a farmer digs a deal and he sees a natural formation, he's going to know it's a natural formation. This was brick and mortar and windows. And but anyway, I still want to go. But we got funneled to this local geologist so he could give us the spiel.
Of course, man, the experts, right? Got to believe the experts. But I mean, doesn't the name of the town kind of give it away?
Yeah,
Rockwall, yeah.
It does
give it away.
Which came first, the town or the wall? That they supposed to have just found on that picture I showed you, you know.
No, it's not called natural, formation or whatever. It's called rock wall.
Somebody saying, was Stonehenge made in the 1800s?
Okay, I saw that too. I'm gonna put it up here because I've answered some of his questions before. He's an Archaix. Lately, he's been an Archaix regular. Madhu Krishna Dasa, or I hope I pronounced that right. Madhu Krishna Dasa. Okay, wasn't Stonehenge made in the 1800s? Okay, I have books from the 1600s in my library right now that show Stonehenge, and they called it the Circle of the Giants, or they called it the Giants' Ring. So I'm not saying Stonehenge. I believe Stonehenge is 3163 BC, and that's Stonehenge 1. Then an earthquake toppled it down. Then locals tried to raise it up, but it wasn't the same. So they added a Sarsen circle. Then they added the Blue Moon stones in Stonehenge 3. That's 1687 BC. I've documented each phase of Stonehenge as what the archaeologists have found. It matches the Phoenix phenomenon. But for plain devil's advocate, if you want to claim Stonehenge is not ancient and it's not the Hyperborean temple that's mentioned in the 3rd century BC by Posidonius, because most people believe Posidonius was talking about Stonehenge when he wrote about the Isles of the North and how they had this badass Hyperborean temple. Now, if it wasn't Stonehenge, that's fine. But Stonehenge, the Stonehenge is ancient from my research, but actual illustrations of it are from books I have of the 16 and 1700s. However, a lot of misinformation was recently published about Stonehenge because people are showing black and white pictures of concrete podiums and these fake rocks being put over them, and it looks like Stonehenge. The reason it looks like Stonehenge is because a rich millionaire in New York in 1922 or 1923 paid to have an exact replica of Stonehenge built in New York City. And she did this on her own private property. And the pictures started going around social media, and people started putting them in videos claiming that, look, this proves Stonehenge is fake. It's not. That all it proves is Stonehenge replica was put in New York. So I just wanted to address that because I've looked into that.
Are they the same photos from the 50s?
Sorry.
So there's a lot from the 50s as well that show that.
Well, yeah, then photographs are rebuilds, reconstruction.
Yeah, I wouldn't
doubt they've done some reconstruction. I would not doubt they've done some reconstruction. But the pictures in black and white that show the cranes and the workforces and then putting Stonehenge together, and people claiming that, oh, look, Stonehenge is totally fake. Look, it's right here, 1911, 1912. That's not true. That's the replica that rich woman had built in New York.
Gainsborough painted in the 1700s. But the most interesting thing is the Saracen stones you just mentioned, Jason. They brought them from the Preseli Mountains here in Wales. And
in Wales, they came from Wales.
240 miles away, and they took them all the way to Salisbury Plain. So the question is how they managed to move them stones from Wales to Salisbury Plain.
So big, yeah.
They tried to reenact it in the 80s on a TV program by trying to take them across on a barge, and the barge sank. So they didn't. That's
it's like that story from Egypt when they tried to float the blocks down the Nile.
Yeah, exactly that. I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these megalithic structures would not be near as heavy in a high pressurized environment.
That's a good point.
They wouldn't. When you increase the air pressure, water becomes even more powerful, and you can use hydraulics and hydromancy to move great weight. You can use pressure itself to move the weight. So I think the vapor canopy answers for a lot of the things that we just can't. We're at a loss. We're hitting the wall. We're in the Tartaria research, in the reset research, in the mud flood research, in the missing centuries or missing 1,000 years research. In every one of these, I'm not willing to dismiss them. What I'm willing to do is see, can these actually be reconciled if we change the biosphere to a vapor canopy? Because if the vapor canopy environment answers for these mysteries, then I'm going to be able to fill a gap I've never been able to fill, the Dark Ages, just like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there would have been more CO2, right, in the atmosphere under a vapor canopy?
Absolutely. The oxygen content would have increased. You would have been able to take a single breath and hold your breath for several minutes and even go underwater to great depth. We know they were doing this in the vapor canopy world because we found the shell middens. And on my channel, I've published the sources where the archaeologists are baffled how ancient men 4,000 and 5,000 years ago dove down hundreds of feet to get clams that only thrive at a certain depth. And yet they were getting them to get their pearls and to get their meat. And they were bringing them up, and the shell middens are hills. So this was something that was going on for a very long period of time.
Wow.
It's not an anomaly. They found whole cultures were living on these clams, on these oysters, and there's no way to get to that depth to get to them unless you change the atmospheric pressure, which changes the water pressure. Then a human can sink like a stone if he wants to. Take a small breath, oxygenate his deals, exhale. He's got plenty of oxygen in his vascularity to last minutes. Go on, just plunge to the bottom, gather up what you need to, or just take the net to the bottom, spread it out, and then 4 or 5 guys dive in behind you. They go straight to the bottom, and they just scoop, fill the net, and then everybody grabs a piece of the net, swims to the top, fill up your shell midden. We can't do that today. We don't live in that world today. but under a vapor canopy, we could have done it, and we did it because we found the shell middens.
So, Jason, vapor canopy, do you think it would be easier for people to get a loft? I mean, fly? You know, with a little bit of aid, maybe from a pair of wings, because I noticed there's a lot of things in antiquity with wings, and there's nothing in the real world with wings.
The
I'm
wings,
wondering why there's no
man.
humanoids with wings in the past. And if you're in a vapor canopy environment, and they've just flapped them around a bit, I was just wondering.
Well,
I think everyone's frozen.
No, I will say this. I'm just thinking,
Well,
from the historical
we're
record,
breaking up a bit.
I'm breaking up. I'm breaking up some.
No, you ain't. Is this Campbell that's doing one, Jason? Not you.
Okay, that's fine. No, we're good. So anyway,
I'm freezing. All right.
During the vapor canopy period, we have traditions that say that the skies were filled with the Vimanas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
We have air. We have. If we go to India and we pay attention to the Puranic commentaries, you're going to find all kinds of references to aircraft, aviation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Battle
I'm
of the
not sure if the I'm not sure if the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita have the references to the Vimanas, but I know the Puranic commentaries do. The Puranas do. I believe the Atharva Veda does. I don't know about the Rig Veda, but I know that there are many Sanskrit texts I cannot pronounce. David Hatcher Childress in that series of books right here, he goes through them all. He goes through all the ones that have been translated in English, and he shows all this aircraft that's mentioned in ancient India. Some of these Vedic texts are pre-flight manuals. Everything that you need to do to your Vimana to make sure you're safe before you go into the air. Now, I don't think we can build a Vimana or Vimana or Vimana. I don't think we can build one of these today because it's a vapor canopy aircraft. I also think that ancient India has done better to preserve vapor canopy data than almost anybody else. And one thing that's been brought to my attention is that Caucasians who have not had sunlight because they've been underground for a long period of time, their skin will be so white it's almost translucent. But under the violet vapor canopy sky, Caucasians would have been blue-skinned. And this is what we find all in Hinduism. In Hinduism, this is all we find. We find all these references to these early Vedic personalities, and they had this blue skin, which made them different than the Dravidian populations that venerated them. So just another data point. I don't know, but to me, I mean, I suffer the condition of Abraham Maslow, who said that when the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see everything as a nail. That's where I'm at right now. Right now, everything's vapor canopy to me. I can't see past it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense just in the fact that we see everything was larger, right? Like this giant everything. Obviously, that's where the dinosaur myth comes from. That were just bigger reptiles, with giant snails and shells, all this stuff. Smurfs, exactly right.
Man, that's
because
great.
there was more
Thank you,
CO2.
Sheldon.
Little blue bastards.
Little blue bastards. Gargamel.
Hey, listen, Smurfs. Man, Smurfs, they're throwing it in our face, bro. The Anunnaki appeared. They were all guys. But in the Sumerian records, there's one chick, Ninhursag. Ninki. There's one chick. No, earlier called Ninlil, I believe. Yeah, man, Smurfette. Even the Smurfs are telling the truth. Anunnaki showed up, they're blue-skinned. They're Caucasians under the vapor canopy. They got one female with them. And she's famous in the Sumerian
It's
records.
interesting. They also wear Phrygian caps, right? Which is interesting.
Man, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Be interested in making a green baby, though. You'd have to get the colours just right to match. What is it?
You should know about that. I mean, it's out of the UK that they had the two green kids pop up like 300 years ago.
I see.
Speaking of weird language, they had green skin. They had green skin. They spoke a weird language. It took them a while to learn how to communicate. They said they came from the underground.
They did.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, no, I've seen it.
Yeah, it was there's some YouTube videos about the green children. It might have been green children of Dublin, something like that. There's YouTube videos about how weird this situation was. Yeah, man.
Interesting,
That's crazy,
yeah,
man.
but yeah, you definitely see all the blue skin gods.
We went from Anunnaki from the Piranhas all the way to the Smurfs, man. You know we're effed up.
Yeah, man. Smurfs were cool.
Smurfs were cool. They were good. Papa Smurf, whatever his name was.
Green Children of Walcott. Thank you, Curious Squirrel. For those who want to look into that, and if any of my moderators can find that YouTube video real quick about the Green Children of Walcott, just so if anybody's interested.
Yeah, that's in England. Yeah. Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah.
Curious Squirrel.
So, who is this? I'm not familiar with this. This is somebody new to my channel, Carrie Larson. I'm backpacking. Didn't make any plans, just going for the adventure. All right. So I'm gonna give just my little thoughts on that real quick for my new listeners who haven't really got into that. More than anybody here, I mean, Martin's gonna know because we spend a lot of time together. But if you're going through anything in your life where, man, and you hit a static point where nothing's going good for you, you can't figure out what's really going on, I'm going to tell you now, you don't have to figure it out. You don't even have to come up with a solution. You don't need to do none of that shit. All you have to do is break pattern. Do what this girl's doing right here. Do something that makes no sense. It's a total pattern break. You're not doing anything you've done in the past 2 or 3 years. You go a different way. You make totally opposite decisions all day long that you normally do. You're not using logic. You're just breaking pattern because that day is going to set in motion a series of events on the following days. Because once you get jacked back into sleep, everything changes. All the potential that's in your existence is built for you in sleep. That's when you exit the system. Yep. You are jacked back in when you wake up. You're back in your avatar. Your avatar belongs to the construct. The construct is now weaving for you reality tunnels because it wants you to choose something, but it's going to throw a bunch of variables out there.
Yeah.
The potential to do whatever you want to do in life is always tomorrow, but you've got to break pattern today. You got to do what she's doing. I just wanted to say that when I saw that comment.
Totally agree, man. I've done that so much recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I got to do it too, man. I got to remind myself sometimes. I get in that rut. I'll get in that rut, and I'll wake up in the morning. You know what? I'll do weird stuff sometimes. I'm glad. I'm glad people don't just watch me. They would not understand. They would try to commit me because sometimes I wake up in the morning and just totally do some weird shit.
Yeah, that's why it's called a life cycle, right? If you keep doing the same thing, you just keep going round and round and round and round, having the same experience.
Got to break pattern.
Yeah, I noticed when you get older that life is in these cycles and patterns, and the same old things keep on repeating. The same old fears keep on coming up and keep on showing and manifesting. But once I started breaking pattern and changing direction, just being totally erratic with my normal behavior, not making any fucking sense. And I was literally, if things do get strange, though, Jason, I've noticed, and variables do come along, and you don't know how to exactly take it because it's all very strange. But you are manifesting your own thing, aren't you? But yeah, you've got to get your mind right with it. I noticed that science, but it's the most amazing thing is to break pattern. It's a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic time.
Yeah, definitely make new decisions, right? Like life tends to try and throw you back in the same cycle. So you've got to, when you break pattern, make new decisions with the new information you get, right?
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember, Martin, you remember San Diego? Yeah. We all give our little speech. We all got up on stage. I remember I put Max Egan last because I already knew what he was going to do. He's going to be dropping some bombs on us. He was going to be talking about Israel. He was going to go. I knew he was going to go left, so I saved him for last. He and I swept last. But I remember Logan of Decode Your Reality.
Yeah.
He got up there and gave his speech. It was pretty damn good. I was impressed. And then I had to get on the microphone and say, "Hey, bro, exit stage left, bro. Get off my stage." remember, he just kept going. So
yeah,
like Duracell battery. So I remember Danny got up there. So Danny from the Unfuckers group, she gets on stage. She gives her, and like everybody's like, "Wow, okay, who is this lady?" She was very impressive. So I remember you and I talking like, "Damn, I wonder if Campbell even prepared anything, man." We kind of just popped this on him, and Campbell gets on stage and shuts us down. Doesn't say a thing about Tartaria, nothing about history, nothing about anything we were expecting, and just got up there and gave a real spiritual speech. Just shut the hall down. You remember that, man?
Oh, so good. It was fantastic. Everyone was like, so unexpected, but you were so like on the money. You know, it was just right on the points.
Yeah, you're on the money, man.
Yeah, man. Really good.
Thank you.
I think it's on YouTube. Yeah, I got it on YouTube, don't I?
He was in a flow state, though, you know, and it was just coming straight from the creator. He was connected straight to source.
I believe that video. That video's 7 hours long. I believe it's on my channel. I believe it's still on my channel. Yeah.
I'll have to have a look.
It's San Diego video. Yeah, you want to download it and clip that section out that you spoke and put it on your channel, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I didn't know it was up. I will. But yeah, that was great. You know, San Diego was awesome. I mean, Coronado Beach, man. How cool was that?
Yeah.
Jay Miles. I don't know. I've never seen this name, Jay Miles. But hey, Waters Above Crypto, man. I know Jordan. I like Jordan. He's on my list. I just been super busy, but he's on my list. And Logan of Decode Your Reality, all he's got to do is email me. He's coming on my show anytime he wants to, or I can go on his. Yeah, we're good about that. Good. No problems.
Oops. Sorry. Just what am I doing?
So yeah, man, it's
a mess here.
Anyway, that's where I'm at. Guys, that's where I'm at. I'm now going to reach out to a lot of these guys that think I've been ignoring them, and a lot of the material that I haven't really entertained. So you don't be surprised when you see certain guests on my channel, man. And I might disagree with a lot of their content, but then again, I'm a man on a mission. I'm trying to fill in the gaps, and I think that the Tartaria data, I think the mud flood data, I'm thinking the missing years, a lot of the Antiquitech material. I'm thinking that we're going to be able to put together a more accurate piece of the last 2,000 years, far more, once we get definitive evidence that we're dealing with a void, a lacuna in history that's actually filled with vapor canopy. Because once we establish that, everything else is going to make sense. Everything.
Whole story.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think like the Sumerian tablets and all these things that are basically written on stone are vapor canopy? Because you mentioned before that books wouldn't, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, paper in a more moist atmosphere wouldn't be much use at all, right?
Yeah, well, we do have, okay, oral tradition's good, but we do have an anomaly that I have addressed and I have documented. It's very unusual how in 1902 and 1903, suddenly libraries appeared all over the English-speaking and the European world. Everywhere, badass, fully furnished, awesome libraries. We're talking about thousands of volumes, and they say that these libraries suddenly appeared because the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the Carnegies got together and funded all this. And that may be true. But how did we get modern translations to ancient texts? How did they all resurface when in the 1800s we don't have records of these texts even existing? In the 1700s, I've got all these books are from the 1700s, all of them. We don't have a lot of books from the 1700s that say anything like the books that came out in 1902. In 1902, we had crisp, clean chronological records. But I have chronicons published in the 1600s and 1700s, and I can show you those chronicons side by side with chronological books that were published after 1902. 1902 has all this polished, badass data, but where did they get it? Because it's not here.
Yeah.
It's not in the old books. In Archaix, I go through the old books. I want to see what all this other stuff. It's not here. Where did they get the data?
Yeah.
Me, I believe that these libraries are in the underworld. I believe there are repositories in the underworld where they keep all this data. And then after resets, they reintroduce it to the public with the necessary changes to promote whatever the new political paradigm is. That's just my theory, but I have a lot of evidence to back it up.
Yeah, it makes sense. I always just thought that was probably just putting out a lot of propaganda, right? But I mean, have you seen the old Cincinnati library? That place was just ridiculous.
God, that place is huge. Yeah, I've seen pictures of it.
But so many libraries got destroyed as well, like, you know, the National Library in Birmingham, 1902, funnily enough, got completely destroyed with all previous records, you know, any previous books. You know, there's a lot of library fires you'll find as well in antiquity. So I'm just wondering if any of the old stuff they got rid of, in this new paradigm of, you know, it's just no coincidence. Why would Carnegie be building libraries in Wales anyway? You got like 4 or 5 libraries in Cardiff alone built by Andrew Carnegie, Esquire. You know,
he was Scottish, wasn't he?
Oh, was he Scottish heritage? Was he?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he was Scottish. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's so crazy. It's all crazy. The whole thing just blows my mind. But,
yeah, me.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish Paul Cook would have been here, but you guys want to come back if we can get Paul on a better schedule?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
well, when meeting Paul, I haven't had a chance just yet in all these years.
Oh, yeah. No, Paul's good. I've had a few chats with him, but he's a busy boy. He's out there, you know, doing a lot of boots on the ground, a lot of research, doing some pretty good. He's found some just ridiculous stuff. Like in England, right? Like just all these houses, right? Troglodyte houses, I guess. All these houses and apartments just built into the side of hills. Well, they probably weren't built in there, right? But they've been covered up. But yeah, he does good work. So go check out his channel, guys. Paul, it's just Paul Cook, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Paul Cook. Paul Cook's an anomaly. He's another mystery because that dude. I remember when his channel was a lot smaller, and he's over in Malta showing all these ruins in Malta. I was like, wow, man, I've read about these places, but I've never been there. Never had boots on the ground. But
yeah, that's why he's good. He'll go anywhere. He like, you know, goes over boundaries and through locked doors and everything and just gets in there. He got really good footage.
That's crazy. Yeah, so hey, we might are you still doing videos with Kelly?
Yeah, man. Yep. One. We're going to record another one today, actually. But yeah, one went up last week. So
hey, tell her I said hi, and yeah, man.
Will.
We can bring her on too. We can have a whole round table, talk about some crazy.
Yeah,
shit.
Okay. I'll bring Kelly along. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Hey. Sometimes when Kelly gets to talking, you just got to be quiet because you don't know what direction we're about to go.
No, I know, right? Yeah.
No, we did a video. Hey, Martin. Kelly and Campbell and I did a awesome video. I couldn't even believe how good it came out. We just freestyled about all the things we heard about dwarves, fairies, the underworld. Yeah. Man, we went off on that video, man. I remember that.
She loves all that, Kelly.
It's fun, yeah. Passionate and creative for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She's up at the house. I'm on her farm at the moment.
So my moderators, please put the links in for Martin Liedtke's channel, Flat Earth British, and Autodidactic.
Thank you.
Self-educated people. I've already seen the links a couple of times, but I want them at the end of the video. That's where I typically put the guest links. Put them at the end. Also, if you're having trouble finding their channels, guys, in the description box, you'll find the links to their channels. I'm going to go ahead and leave Paul Cook's link in the description box too. We'll catch up with him later. But I'm gonna close this out. It's been almost 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's been a great talk. I'm gonna let these guys give a closing statement, whatever it is. But I really wanted to do this to let the community know and let two of my closest buds know. These guys have been me since I was just a little cockroach on YouTube. I was just a little guy running around listening to everybody. So,
OGs now.
Yeah, man. So I just I'm gonna let these guys close out because they deserve to be heard as they check out and go out the door. Martin.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for inviting us over. Thanks, Campbell. Much love to you, boys. Hope to see you again one day soon. And keep your vibrations up. Definitely be breaking pattern. It's good advice. That is that lady doing go camping. I think I should go camping. Quite fancy doing that.
I like camping.
Camping's cool, man.
Campbell.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for everyone in chat. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. And be autodidactic, and remember, his story is his story, right? It's not our story. So get out there and create your own.
All right. It's all good. It's all good. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit this world famous outro, and I'll see you guys later, man.
Later, guys. Much love to you all in chat.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Yay.
Man, I'm so slow at this shit.
Stay awesome, everyone.